Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See detail.
At Leidos, a brilliant mind is smart, but a brilliant team is smarter. A ship that finds enemy subs is smart, but an autonomous fleet, that's smarter. Defending against cyber attacks? Smart. Stopping attacks before they start? Smarter. And using AI tools is smart, but integrating trusted mission AI into your technology is smarter. We're not just making technology solutions in national security and health. We're making smart smarter. Leidos.
Thank you. Hello and welcome to this. It is the EggChasers Rugby podcast, the podcast about rugby that doesn't take itself or the game too seriously. It is round 3 of the Premiership, and as such, all 3 of us are here. How are we, boys?
Holy Trinity. Round 3 of the URC and round 24 of the top 14.
Indeed.
Yes.
Round 5 of Talk H's League, whichever one this may be now.
How did the mighty Talk H get on yesterday?
We won again.
So how's the league shaping? How did
we are second in the league.
How did my beloved Broughton Park get on?
Unfortunately, they lost. Heartbroken for them.
How did your beloved Sedgley Park get on, Phil?
Lost again.
Oh, dear.
So after a good first win against Esher, they've lost every game since. This was at home to Bishop Stortford.
So what are they?
Is that a bit of a worry?
1-4.
What's changed at Sedge?
It is a little bit. Well, they struggled. So they had a good start to the season last year, but then struggled towards the end.
This is National 1.
This is National 1.
Yeah.
So Tier 3. So were it not for their good start last season, well, they actually were a little bit uncertain towards the end of the season, but made themselves safe with a few games to go. But it is a little bit concerning, must admit.
Yeah. Well, we played a very large, very aggressive Glossop team.
Glossop, who I saw, I've watched a couple of times in the last few years, but I saw them last year.
I mean, I don't know what's happened there, and they are still a big set of boys by any standards.
They've lost.
Good rugby players.
They've churned a whole team over, basically.
But yeah, they have. So they were level 5. Some of their old boys were watching, like recent old boys, and they were even bigger lads, to be fair. So they were level 5 only 2 years ago, and now they're.
Well, when I saw them last
7?
Yeah, when I saw them last year, they were bottom of the league, getting relegated because they'd had you got this perverse thing if you're not from the north of England, northwest, or
oh yes,
where they got, because they were the most easterly club in the northwest division, they got sent into the northeast division, which for Glossop to travel to, I don't know, Southport, even Fylde, Vale of Lune, you're talking an hour and a half. For them to travel up to the northeast, up to Percy Park or Rockcliffe, it's like 3 hours.
Yeah. Well,
and they're doing that every other week.
Did you see the Owen Slot article about Macclesfield?
Yes.
Now,
they're in National 1 South. No. Or
I think that.
Oh, yeah, microphone.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
I think we covered this maybe last year or this year. So Chester.
I think Owen Slot probably listened to us and then covered it.
Yeah,
it's probably
right.
the truth.
Yeah.
Chester and Mac. One's in west and one's in. It might even be east. They're in completely because.
Oh, no, it's separated into 3 now, isn't it?
Well, north, east, west.
Yeah,
but the west is basically the southwest, Bristol and beyond.
That's the one.
So one of them
and Macclesfield,
and Macclesfield, and then Chester might. One of them might actually be in the east. One of them's. There's something perverse about Chester and Macclesfield, that Chester are more southerly and westerly than Macclesfield, and they're in the wrong league. Yeah,
so Chester did it a few years ago. Now it's Macclesfield, and it's just a long one. So this goes 2 ways in my mind. It's not great for Macclesfield, and there's a big, we're so sad for Macclesfield kind of sob story. But I tell you another team that does this is RGC in North Wales. So they're the only North Walian presence, and it's pretty much the same kind of distance. You either got to go on horrible A roads all the way on South Wales, or you've got to go via Birmingham or via the borders. There's no easy way to do it.
Just to highlight this, this weekend. I don't know where Locktonians are. That's West Midlands. That's not too bad.
Shropshire.
That's probably their closest team. Before that, they were Old Redcliffians, which is in Bristol.
Yeah.
Exeter University.
Yeah.
No, where's that?
Camborne. Round 1 of the league, they went to Camborne.
Oh, God.
Oh, horrendous.
Yeah, but it goes two ways, right? So RGC do this, and RGC have just become masters of travelling because they know how to do it, and they're acclimatised to it. So I would argue it's a much bigger ask for the other team to come up to you.
But they do it once a year.
Exactly.
You do it 12 times a year. Or
But you
whatever
become practiced, and you know what you're doing, and maybe you have an away team and a home. You just know how to do it.
It is.
But the costs do mount up.
The costs and the commitment, because it's every other week the boys know they're on a bus at 5 a.m. and they're not getting back until after midnight.
Yeah, it's
and
not.
That is a big. It's a big. having done something similar for a few years.
Yeah,
it is a big commitment.
It is, and it's fair to say, one of those things which is a young man's dream.
Exactly that.
It's a young man's dream and like a 30-year-old's nightmare. Like there's very few in between. There's very few 30-year-olds that want to do this.
34.
Actually, there are some which would love to do it.
Yeah, there are a few, but you're right. It's diminishing at that point. The numbers.
So on this podcast, we are going to talk about the Premiership Round 3. We'll touch on URC and the other stuff. I'm just thinking, news. We've had some news this week. Steve Borthwick has named a training squad.
Oh, yes, he has.
He has.
Still no Ted Hill. Still no Curtis Langdon. But there are players that are back in.
Still no Gabriel Ogre.
No, he was in for the New Zealand tour, but he's out in favour of Luke Cowan-Dickey.
Yes.
Why?
Well, I'm assuming it's scrummaging is the thought.
Size? Just sheer volume?
Just a bigger guy, because we'll definitely come on to Gabe Ogre, and he had a hell of a game this weekend.
Yeah, great player.
He was the best player on the pitch.
Yeah.
Even counting for Santiago Grondona, who scored 2 tries, Ogre was phenomenal this weekend.
Yes, we'll definitely.
He's a phenomenal player.
Definitely
I've been
come on
talking
to
about
that.
this guy for a long time. I've loved him.
What else is there? Obviously, George Ford is injured. I'm trying to think
but
of
not too badly, apparently.
Oscar Beard is in. And who's the other centre? We've got Dingwall, Lawrence,
back in.
Lazowski, that's the one.
Yeah. Fisselau and Tom Willis.
Yeah.
Fisselau in, Willis back in, I think.
And Trevor Davison is in over Joe Hayes.
Yeah.
And no huge surprises. Some good ones.
Yeah, no huge.
Tom Pearson's back in.
Yeah, Tom Pearson, who's been playing pretty well.
Yeah,
I think.
I agree with that. He's found some form.
That's a good shout. No, not a Curry, but they're both named as injured.
I don't think. So I was looking at the players that are in and the changes that have been made. I don't know that anyone is in that we weren't already expecting. Like, for example, Ellis Genge was out in the summer because he was injured, but he's back in. I don't think there's anyone that's in that we weren't expecting or is a new face who will be challenging for a starting 15 shirt.
No, although I will caveat. So there's 2 positions I highlighted as a question mark over the order. First one, slightly easier, tight head, just because I think we've got 3 not amazing options in Will Stewart, Dan Cole, 37 or 38-year-old Dan Cole, and Trevor Davidson. It might even be Trevor Davidson who pushes for the starting berth.
Okay, yeah, I'm willing to go with that. And
then the other one is centre. So with Henry Slade out, you've got Ollie Lawrence who's going to start, you would assume.
He'll definitely start.
But then
in which shirt?
In which shirt, and then who alongside him, and who alongside him might determine which shirt, because the 3 other main options are Lazowski, not been in the squad for 6 years.
Very Henry Slade-ish.
Whoa. Very RFU-ish. So why might he be called up to the squad at this particular point in time, do we think?
Playing great rugby?
That'll be the one. That'll definitely be the one.
After a year of injuries.
All there is to it.
He is like a... No, I was gonna say something unkind there. I was gonna say he's like a Timu Henry Slade, but that would be totally disrespectful because he's like another Henry Slade.
Yeah.
He's better than Henry Slade in some ways. Like, he's faster, I would say. He hits harder, but he's probably not as good as a playmaker. Probably not as good as a jinky runner.
He goal kicks as well.
Goal kicks, probably not as good out of hand kicking. I mean, they are similar. There are differences, but they are similar.
You can understand. You could put your cynical hat on and say it's got something to do with his Italian qualification.
But he would never do that.
But I don't believe that, because he is so like Henry Slade that without Henry Slade, you can totally understand. The one surprise would have been, the one surprise, I guess, in that sense, is fair play Alex Lazowski for backing himself to actually get a run of games. Because I wonder if he might have calculated, hold on a minute, I don't know how old he is now.
29, maybe. I
Okay,
don't
so
know.
he's got time. He's got time.
Hang on, fair play for backing himself for not getting picked for 5 years to qualify for Italy to make England pick him again. Because that's how I see this. You should just say no. You should just say no. I mean, the money's too good, isn't it? Shame the money's so good because you should say no.
31.
And go and...
So, yeah, exactly. So a 31-year-old Alex Zofsky, I love that he wants to play for England that badly, that he could have had probably a good run and a World Cup with Italy, but he'd rather fight for a chance to pull on the rose again.
Hang on, but what were his choices before this period? You know, he had no choice. He had no choice.
No, he had no choice then, but he has a choice now.
Yeah, well, £20,000 say you play for England, and I agree with that logic. But he goes to Italy, he plays World Cup, and he gets a lot of caps.
Yeah,
but it is also more than that, because if he's all of a sudden no longer EQP, he's less valuable to a Premiership club, and he'd have to go and play his trade somewhere else.
You know, might have to go play for Zebra.
Although he could go to France, although is he good enough to be a
I'd say he probably is, actually.
Pro D2, probably.
Just to tell you how good France is, or another reason why I think France is quite good, I saw these amazing highlights on Instagram of Scarlett scoring a try. I was like, that is unbelievable. And I looked a little bit closer, and it was actually Toulouse versus Brive. I was like,
confused Toulouse with Scarlett.
No, because they were in the full red kit.
Oh, okay.
And it looked like it said top 14, but for some reason I had Pro 14 in my mind. So like, bloody hell, who are these lads? And like the last pass to LaBelle was like around the back offload from somebody.
Pro D2.
Oh my
Pro
goodness.
D2, the last try of the match last week for Provence. Oh my God, the offload was ridiculous. I wonder if I can just show you while you're having a chat.
Well, while you're looking up that, so back to the centres. So we've got Ollie Lawrence starting in either 12 or 13. Alongside him, you could pair Lazowski, Dingwall, who's been in the squad a little bit. He's mostly played 12, but he's actually been starting at 13 this season with Hutchinson inside him. Or Oscar Beard, or possibly move Elliot Daly, who's back in the squad, into the 13 shirt. What are you going for, Jay, of those options? Dingwall, Lazowski... Those are your options, I'm afraid.
Dingwall 12.
Unless you're going to move Freddie Stewart into 12.
Absolutely. No, I'm not doing this. This is nonsense.
I'd go Dingwall, Lawrence.
Dingwall, Lawrence.
Possibly even Lawrence Dingwall.
Not that one.
I'd probably go Dingwall at 12 and Lawrence at 13.
Just because Dingwall's had a run of games and just stop messing about. But if it's down to me, I'd go Seb Atkinson.
Yeah, I could go Seb Atkinson. Sadly, he's not in the squad.
No, he's not.
The injured names, just on that, because there's quite a big not considered list. 3 of whom are actually centres as well. So one, obviously, Henry Slade we mentioned before. Do you know the other 2 mentioned by Borthwick but not in the squad because they're injured?
Luke Northmore.
Correct. I would love to see him have a run of games. I'd love to see him have a run of fitness first and then a run of games.
I'm guessing it's not Lennox and Anyanu then, because...
Not Lennox.
So the other one...
Dan Kelly.
Not Dan Kelly.
Sam Arnold. Young Sam Arnold.
EQP?
Yeah.
No, not Sam Arnold.
Wilbert?
Bernard Janty van Rensburg. He will be in. Yeah. Give him 6 months, he'll be in.
Not considered because he's not yet eligible.
James Williams is a superb player, but it won't be him.
He's not. Yeah, someone who is currently injured, and we have spoken about this season.
Currently injured?
Currently injured. We've spoken about him not being
Max
available. Max Ajomo was the other...
What a player.
The other referenced
what
centre in the squad.
What a player he is. Do you know, we were talking only... 12 months ago, 6 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, England don't have any 12s. Well, they've got so many 12s now. And it just shows how things turn around.
I'm not convinced yet on any of that. I think we have lots of potential international 12s.
Wales, right? Imagine you were at Wales, how excited you'd be about this crop of 12s.
Yeah, fair.
Because England always want the finished article, and I think this is a problem. Rather than just trusting what these lads can do right now, like a Gatland would or a Scotland would, that sort of thing. Like Scotland will happily play Redpath. And if Redpath was English, and once upon a time he was English, they're like, he's not quite ready yet.
Or if you didn't want to get a dual qualified player, didn't want to push him into the squad?
Yeah. Well, they did. They called him up.
They didn't. They couldn't.
No, they did. They called him up as They called him up as
apprentice
player.
Yeah, but then luckily Scotland snatched him away. So
what you're saying is get the kids in.
Get all the kids in. Leicester have got this young, exciting lad, Woodward, who played this weekend. You've got Atkinson.
Yeah, lots of potential.
Bats.
Lots of potential.
Yeah, any other country would be, any other British nation would be so excited.
Do you
about
think
this
any
squad.
one of those players would get anywhere near the squad of South Africa, New Zealand,
France,
Ireland, France?
I think one of them would. I don't know which one, because it depends on the coaches. But I think one of those countries would look at that crop and go, right, we need to hand this over to somebody now. One of those lads will be good enough.
I'm not sure how that's how you win top international games, by handing over a shirt to someone who hasn't proved it yet.
I think this is what happens in lots of countries with smaller playing
No,
pools.
you're quite right.
And I think, at the very top level, you're probably right, because you've got lads like Andre Esterhazen. Actually, Andre Esterhazen probably was playing before he was ready, because he got smashed by
Owen Farrell
like a lifetime ago.
Andre Esterhazen was about 25 at the time.
Yeah, he probably was about
Do you reckon
25.
he was?
Yeah, he's 30 now. 31.
5 years ago.
30, 31, yeah.
Yeah, maybe it was.
Yeah.
Have a quick look at this try. So this is Aix-en-Provence against Oyonnax. And you might have to lean forward. Look at the last offload.
Nice. That is nice. Little grubber through.
Wait for it.
Oh, no way.
Very
no
nice.
way. He's in touch. Oh, that is-
Outrageous skill. And that's the second tier of French rugby.
It's going well over there, isn't it?
It is.
They're doing all right.
There were a full 15,000 people at Courtney's Breves last home game. 15. That's more. And again, I don't want to beat up on the Premiership, because that's not my objective here. Like, I love it. And this weekend's games were brilliant. And I mean,
results.
actually, if you want to talk about the Premiership, I'll tell you what, Phil, get up next weekend's fixtures for a second,
Okay.
and read those fixtures out, and it gets very interesting. But sorry, this weekend's fixtures. I'll just read out the fixtures.
Sorry, is this Premiership or Pro D2?
Premiership. But it was Leicester v Bath last week, and there were empty seats, and there's 15,000 people going to Brive versus Aurillac.
That's a big game.
Yeah.
If Stockport were to play the town that they're twinned with in a game of rugby, who would they play?
I'm guessing it's going to be a French team.
It is.
Colomiers.
Ooh, that's a really good guess. Really good guess.
Van.
Nope.
Okay. It's going to be something to do with hats.
That's a very, very good bit of deduction. I'm not sure if it's true. I like how you're thinking.
Okay. Let's go for. I'm just trying to think of the teams. Montauban.
You're thinking around that size. Historically very good.
Béziers.
Correct.
Oh, nice.
Stockport would play Béziers. Now, how do you reckon they get on? Stockport are a decent side.
I think Béziers might hand it to him.
It would be 100 they would stop after 50 minutes when it got to 100.
I would say so. It would be an interesting game to watch.
2 points per minute, I think, would be
I would definitely invite, if I was Stockport, right, and we had this link, I'd definitely invite the Béziers under-21s over like once a year. It'd be a hell of an event. Why don't people think like me? It's ridiculous.
That's very cool. That's a very neat idea.
So you wanted the fixtures this week?
Well, yeah, just when you read out the fixtures, we'll go into the games, but you just look at the fixtures for this, and it just sounds cool. Sorry, it just sounds so cool, the Premiership, when you just say them.
Northampton Saints against Harlequins.
Love it.
Sale Sharks versus Gloucester.
Love it.
Bath versus Bristol. Falcons versus Leicester Tigers, the Balmain Bowl. And Saracens versus Exeter Chiefs.
Next week's is all done.
Next week, yeah, and I was going to say, and that sounds good, but compare it to next week. Sale versus Newcastle. Sanderson Diamond, King of the North.
Oh, yeah. Now I'm interested.
That is good.
I wasn't interested, but now I am.
Exeter Bristol.
Yeah.
It just sounds cool. Gloucester Bath is just historic. Leicester Northampton.
Yeah.
And Quins Saracens.
Bit of hatred on those last two.
Just so.
Quins
Next
Saracens
weekend's
round
4
Quins
is so good.
Absolutely smoked, aren't they? Like, it was not going to be because Quins are going to get so roundly hammered.
Well, is that a good place to start? Because we don't have to do anything chronologically, but it is Saracens. It's worth. I'd say it's worth remarking on. It is remarkable.
It's amazing, isn't it? So
Yeah.
I have come up
In their
with...
rebuild year, quote unquote.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it just shows, doesn't it? Was Owen Farrell holding them back? And it makes me so happy to think that Stuart Lancaster's wasted so much money.
Is six-time Premiership champion, 3-time European, or 2-time European champion, Owen Farrell, did he hold them back?
It's time to move on. And it makes you so happy to think Stuart Lancaster spent so much of his budget when he could have had Fergus Burke for, what, 1/4?
I think 1/4 is generous. I think Fergus Burke would do it for 1/8.
1/8, right?
It for 1/8. 1/8. Owen Farrell.
Imagine the team that Racing could be if they hadn't spent all the money on Khaleesi and Owen Farrell. So every time I hear about a big name signing now, I think they've done this like they're playing Championship Manager. They've not really thought this through at all. Whereas every time I hear a nobody signing for Saracens, like, this guy's world class. He's got no history. Yeah. He's from like a village team in Samoa, and he's got a basketball background. Oh my God, he's amazing. like the reserve fly half for the Crusaders, no one's ever heard of. Oh my God, he's amazing.
The context, I would just add, the context is they've beaten Exeter at home, they've beaten Gloucester away, and they've beaten Sale Sharks at home.
Well, I mean, Sale Sharks are the ones, it's a big Scar players, but they haven't just beaten them, they have smashed them.
Yeah, they did smash them.
They did smash them.
They smashed everyone, actually, to be fair.
Sale, I mean, this week, more than last week.
The next, I was going to say, I wouldn't get, this is what I was going to say, I think Saracens have done brilliantly, but I'm not going to get carried away about Saracens because the next 3 fixtures to complete this block of 6 Premiership games, Harlequins away, Bristol away, Leicester at home. If they're 6 from 6 after that, this is a title-winning team. Potential.
I don't think they will be.
I don't think they will be 6 from 6, and they could be 3 and 3.
So, okay, so there's a few things I think. So first of all, I'm going to give you my overall thought on the weekend, which is coaching really matters, right? How your team works together really matters. And I think this is demonstrated in 2, maybe 3 games. The way that Saracens was just so well coached, and actually how Exeter were not listening to their coach. That was the bigger one. I think Rob Baxter's going to look at that game and will point out errors with everyone's performance. So
I think that's definitely true.
Yeah, he'll know what to do, he'll know how to fix it, but he's not going to be happy. Mm-hmm. Sale, which I'll speak about in a bit more detail, because I think they won a game they shouldn't have won. Certainly with the players that they had available.
They were threadbare. I thought, much like you, Jay, when I saw the Sale team, I thought
they were done.
Yeah, I thought they're really threadbare. A back row, considering their back row can be Curry, Dan Dupree, the back row of Van Ryn, Dugdale, who's a great player, and Ruben Birch.
Okay,
it's an adequate Premiership back row, an adequate Premiership Cup back row. It's not Curry, Dan Dupree.
It's not, is it?
With Luke Dupree in second
reserve.
row.
And having seen this game, my takeaway is not really on the Sale side, although they did phenomenally well in difficult circumstances. I'm wondering if we gave Gloucester more credit than they perhaps deserve for that win last week against Bristol, where Bristol threw it around a bit too much and turned over just too much ball, and Gloucester capitalised.
I've got so much stuff to say about that, because I'm assuming that you guys watched the Northampton Harlequins game because you're normal.
Yes.
And I watched that game in detail.
Yes.
So we'll talk about that in a second. And the last one was Bristol, who were so useful with ball in hand, and they the Cryface and the Cubs do look quite well coached.
Cryface and the Cubs. That sounds like the name of a band.
It is Cryface and the Cubs.
They do explain Cryface and the Cubs.
Ellis Genge, eternal Cryface, and everyone who's paid less than him, which are the Cubs.
They look so good. They're really fun.
They look great. They're back to a bit of what they did when they finished top of the league.
Semi and Piatow.
When they had Semi and Piatow. But what I mean is that everyone forgot or didn't kind of discredited that Bristol scored the most pushover tries in the league the year that they finished top. So they had the hard steel, and they also ran it a hell of a lot. And they were doing that in this game. They had a couple of pushover tries. They had Grondona, who scored 2. Ogre was pushed over.
Joe Batley was good.
Jancy van Rensburg crashed over from an Ogre pass. But they still did some crazy things.
Yeah, they
like
did.
One of the Grondona.
People don't understand this, and this is. I mean, I'm not comparing Talk H to Bristol Bears by any stretch. However, here we go. The fact that you have a great morning game does help your passing game. In fact,
Massively.
A great passing game helps your mauling game.
Yep.
Like, they are so intrinsically linked, and people don't get it. So that's why you fake them all. Like, that's why it's important that you have a threat out wide. It's just really, really important that you are balanced. I think Bristol, in that respect, are very balanced.
Agreed.
Right, so back to Saracens.
After
all
bouncing everywhere.
What's more to say about Saracens? Go on.
Loads of stuff.
Okay.
So this game itself, right?
Are we a Premiership podcast?
I am. I mean, that's all I do. You're more South African, granted.
There's so much good rugby going on.
Yeah, but
I don't feel the need to have to go through every one of the 5 Premiership games in detail.
Well, you can choose which one not to do. Then.
Okay. Oh no, it's not.
We've only got 4 games.
There's a couple that I've not seen in great detail, so there's a couple that I would like to talk about.
Yeah.
Just on Saracens Exeter, right? So for the first 20 minutes, this was like super, super physical.
Yeah.
The thing which I think Saracens have massively improved on is their scrimmaging.
Yes.
Their scrimmaging now looks legit. Now, it looked good last week. It looked even better this week. And I think Exeter have got, long and hard before they ever deploy Marcus Street ever again. Because he got hammered. Like, every time that they packed down, you can see that he looks uncomfortable. And then, I mean, how he didn't concede more penalties is beyond me. And how he stayed on the pitch before the half, just wild. Absolutely wild.
He when he was sizing up, because he's a big boy.
He is.
But he's not as big as Painter or...
Reece. Oh, sorry, go on.
Yusufa Scott.
Yeah.
He's certainly not as big as Reece Carey. Reece Carey's thighs and rump compared to Marcus Street's was different gravy. Completely.
And Reece Carey looked really good. So this is the guy that...
With his try assist as well in the wide channel.
And you think, don't you, like, there's 2 guys in that Saracens team who we know are great players, who have gone to Wales and done... Well, basically become anonymous and come back and they've been awesome. Tompkins, poor lad, career nearly died at Dragons.
Yeah.
And Reece Carey, who was forced to come back for reasons unknown and was told he's too fat.
Accused of being too fat.
Somebody told that man he was too fat to play, and he's running around on the Saracens turf giving, try scoring passes.
And he's no lighter now than he was then.
No, he might even be bigger. Right, it just shows what a mess Welsh rugby is. Here is your talent. Make it work. Oh, no, it's all right. It's too fat. Brilliant. Well done, everyone. Well done, everyone involved. To who was the young winger that is at Saracens tearing up trees now?
Oh, Elliot.
I think he scored again.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. Now, what about him? What about him for England?
Oh, come on.
Get the kids in.
JB has
always said from the start.
I saw a load of people commenting this week when the England squad was announced as well. I cannot believe Will Butt is not in at centre. He's the best 12 in England.
It is a disgrace. It's a complete disgrace.
He's had, don't get me wrong.
He's not as good as Sam Arnold.
We showered praise over him for his performances in the first 2 rounds of the game. But come on.
Yeah.
Give your head a wobble.
I am with you, Tim. I'm excited about the potential. Yeah. At the moment, it is just that.
Yeah, and the other one I wanted to talk about is Exeter. I think they suffer from poor morale. I don't think they've got moral fibre about them. So they start a game like a train. And you think about it, this makes sense. What has Rob Baxter done? He's created a young team of very, very good, aggressive athletes. And if you want to be aggressive and tough for a quarter of an hour, that's exactly the profile of guy you need. Just young, aggressive men. So, tick in that box. But when it starts going wrong for them, it goes really wrong. It's just they don't think. They compound their errors. People switch off. They're making such Exeter mistakes. I think Rob Baxter's actually got a much bigger job on his hands than I originally thought. Because I think when they are up against it, their heads go down. And you can't do that in the Premiership. You need to be in a situation where, as Rob Baxter's always said, you stay in the fight till the very end. And this team isn't doing that. And they don't have enough talent to get themselves out of it. In fact, I don't think I'll ever see Will Haydenwood starting in a 10 shirt ever again, short of a absolutely mega injury crisis.
And Exeter, so I agree with all that. And I kind of made the point a couple of weeks ago that I think Exeter won't make top 4 for a couple of years, actually, based on this squad. I will just say that they are missing probably their 2 most experienced and highest calibre players, the 2 guys that they've kind of built their backs and pack around.
And as we said last weake, Henry stays there, they win the first 2 games.
Yeah.
They might win one of them. Probably. I think they win 2 of them.
These get a win, I agree. In Henry Slade and Jacques Vermaelen. who are both out injured. They're both hugely experienced and phenomenal players who would switch that morale. So I don't think even those two make a difference on the scoreline, and in this game, they might maybe get 7 points closer.
Yeah,
but they make a difference to other games, certainly.
Yeah, and the last thing I was going to say is Elliot Daly was really, really good, and he continues
back
to
in the
be
England
really
squad.
good.
Yeah.
Would you start him for England?
No. I'd have Freeman and Faye Roboso on the wings,
and
Furbank at fullback, and Daly on the bench. Perfect number 23. You can go a 6-2 split if you wish, or else he just covers 11, 13, 14, 15.
I think if Farrell was still in the team, it'd be a no-brainer for me because he works so well.
Him.
Yeah. I think you are probably right, Tim. But then if you are right, I'm not sure there's room for him at all in the squad because I don't think he's a backup. I think he's like a guy at 33 you need to start now.
Well, he's 31.
Oh, I thought he was 33.
I don't think it would make any difference if he was 33 or 31. He's still got it.
In 2 years' time.
I will say, though, he is 31. In 2 days' time, he is 32.
Okay, so in a year's time, I stand by my comments. The other thing I was going to say about him as well is he's been remarkably good for Saracens.
Makazole Mapimpi is 34.
Is he?
I think so.
Yeah, yes.
So he's been remarkably good for Saracens for a long time.
34.
He's also the reason that Saracens got relegated. So I'm going to ask the question now. If you knew he's going to be this good, would you take relegation for Elliot Daly?
I think it's hard to pin it all on Elliot Daly's shoulders.
No, it's all on Elliot Daly.
Any of it on Elliot Daly's
because
shoulders.
if it wasn't for the Elliot Daly transfer, people wouldn't have gone mental. It's when they started stealing players.
Liam Williams and Elliot. Now you've got Elliot Daly as
well.
well.
Liam Williams, they go, well, it's not one of our players. But when it was one of their players and Wasps knew the offer that they made and they knew Saracens made a better offer, that's when they went, we need to investigate this.
And they knew how many other players Saracens had in their squad. You've got Vincent Koch as well as...
And Liam Williams.
And a brace of Vunipolas. And Owen Farrell. And Murray Toji.
The more I think about the salary cap scandal as was, and I look at Saracens now and what they're doing, and how they overcame the salary cap scandal only to go and win the league again, and how they got rid of all their players, like Maitland and whoever it is, and the Vunipolas and some Flyhoff, and then they're still winning. They should have been given an exemption. Because it wasn't the players that were winning it. If anyone is allowed to spend the money, it should be them. Because we know they're going to spend it wisely, and we know they're going to the most up.
Again, I'm praising them for how they look this season, and it's great. And they've got the bit between their teeth, and they've made some really intelligent signings. They could end up being 3-3 in 3 weeks' time.
Everyone can. Well, no, they can't. Not everyone can. Well.
Everyone can.
Yeah, everyone can, actually. At this point, everyone can.
Everyone can.
And this is the great thing about the Premiership is, except for Newcastle, is the dynamic can change massively. In fact, we got to talk about the stag do at Newcastle.
Oh God!
Wow, this is the best.
In fact,
before we go to that, I just want to because it's a fellow OG podcaster who's been doing it for a while, not one of these grassroots ones with all the corporate money behind it. Eddie Stevens is back doing Rugby Ranter Banter.
Fantastic.
So
phenomenal.
Go and check out Rugby Ranter Banter. And our friends, I was thinking of other ones that we should mention. Tribe Talking. We should,
Is it Talking Tribe or Tribe Talking? I always get mixed up, but I like the podcast and I like the guys.
Yes, exactly. And go and support your all other top level, elite level OG podcasters.
Yeah,
so, there you go.
of which there are plenty.
Yeah.
That's Saracens. So that wasn't too deep on Saracens.
That's right. The stag do. So there was a stag do at Kingston Park, which doubled the size of the crowd. No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
The stag do went, and they got roped in to the halftime entertainment, which was some kind of race.
I love this so much.
And all we knew about this was that the game got delayed. The start of the second half got delayed, and so we got an update because the best man. I don't think it was part of the actual game. I think the best man went rogue and tackled him so badly that he ended up in hospital.
He got carried off in a neck brace.
Carried off in a neck
stretcher on. The pictures don't look good. That
they didn't have. He didn't have much in the way of clothes to cut off him if they needed to, because he looked like he was wearing a bikini or something.
Absolutely superb. So this is a classic example of learning the wrong lesson, isn't it? So there'll be people in Newcastle going, oh my God, we can never do fan engagement ever again. And I go the opposite. Like, you need more of this stuff. I mean, this is exactly why young men play this game. This is what we want to see. But what they'll say is, oh, this never needed to happen. It was unsafe to do. Like, that's, I mean, it's not great for the Stag at the time. But me and my best friend growing up, I used to have this best friend who went to Australia. We get up to all sorts of hijinks as young men. And to decide if it was worth it before we did it, we'd ask them one simple question, which is, will we laugh about it by Christmas? And if the answer is yes, then we should definitely do this thing. Whatever the thing may be. That is something they'll laugh about by Christmas, and it's only 2 or 3 months away.
That has also been said at many a wake. So what happened exactly? You were there. Well,
funny story.
We thought we'd laugh about this at Christmas, but
we have many other stories to laugh about. So I'm fully on board. I actually quite like the Newcastle tweet afterwards, which is, we wish the Stag and the best man all the best. Please don't sue us.
Yeah, it's very good. Very funny. That's about the highlight from Newcastle, though, isn't it?
Well, it wasn't the only beating that happened in Kingston Park, but it's the most interesting.
Yeah, and we sort of said a lot about Newcastle in the first 2 weeks. I don't think we need to go there again. Suffice to say, Steve Diamond's pre-season predictions that they will not finish bottom and that they will be challenging.
Challenging what?
Well, they will not. He said we will not finish bottom.
Well, there are a few things of note.
No. Well,
just one or two things.
Yeah.
I don't think Will Hurd is going to last very long at Leicester. That's because he got roundly battered in a few scrums by Adam Brocklebank, who looks like a very, very good scrimmager. There's a young lad called Joseph Woodward. Apparently, we need to be very excited about him.
So as I understand it, he's a fly half slash centre.
Yeah.
Can play a bit
so
of both.
Another one to watch.
Yeah.
And Israel Perezi did not get a yellow card.
No.
He didn't.
He was really disappointed.
What?
He was taken off with 25 minutes still to go, so he was probably lining it up for the last period. Now, I don't think this would have changed the scoreline, but there were 3 disallowed tries for Bath, at least 2 of which in the Lawrence try and the Ted Hill try. I'm not sure they were the right decision to disallow them.
100%. Ted Hills was a try.
Ted Hills was a try for me, and everyone in comms thought it was.
Yeah,
a try.
I would tend to agree with that one. I do think had the leg not been there, Ted Hill would have dropped it.
Do you think?
I think maybe the leg he still had contact with the ball.
But there wasn't any separation.
But he wasn't holding it. No, there wasn't separation. No, you're right. Yeah. So it's fine. I would have given the try as well.
I just found it really surprising. And everyone in comms was the same. And then the Lawrence try. Now, as it turned out, the Ted Hill try was almost immediately followed by that amazing Sam Harris try. And the Lawrence try was followed by a yellow card that led to, I want to say, the Maloney try.
There was 2. Well, there was Will Butt scored after Grondona's yellow.
Yeah.
The Sam Harris try all came from basically Gabriel Ibatoya, who otherwise played a very, very good game, but his kick chase was very substandard.
Well, part of it, and you would have seen this as well, the undoing of the DuPont law has actually meaningfully changed things, hasn't it? Because it isn't just that you cannot move forward and tackle, you have to actively retire.
Actively retreat.
Yes.
Retreat. So it has actually changed things. I noticed this in some games that I've watched at lower levels, and the university team I play with and coach, and my son's team today. It's you have to being the last man and kicking. You have to get on your bike.
Yeah, and I was thinking, we were talking about what if someone pulls their hamstring kind of thing, or I was thinking that maybe, and not in many situations, but maybe it does free up a bit more space on the pitch as well, because you rarely. There is a risk to just having one person isolated right at the back of the pitch. You almost want 2 people, so either one of them can put the rest of the team on side every time, which does create a bit more space elsewhere. And that in itself is not new. That kind of also plays into the 50-22. It's more sensible. There's less risk to have 2 men back. Therefore, there is other space elsewhere on the pitch. But back to the game, Bristol beat up Bath in Bath. Even a Bath fan would be a bit frustrated about those disallowed tries, certainly 2 of them. I don't think it would have mattered.
No, and
Bristol were the better team.
And it's one game and it's 80 minutes, and exactly the same. You have to put last week in context. Bristol were very. I mean, they conceded a lot of points that were avoidable against Gloucester.
Yeah, they turned over too much ball out wide,
and they were very good this week. Bath were poor, but I'm not going to make any wild conclusions about that because it's early days.
Yep. I agree.
I wanted to mention something about the way that I watched this game rather than the game itself. So I didn't watch the whole game. I watched the hour highlights on TNT.
Yeah.
Now, anyone would think, wouldn't you, an hour's highlights, you'd just get the whole game minus the stoppages. You don't. I was getting really frustrated watching it. I think they must show. So, do you know what we used to watch the highlights show on ITV when that was the thing?
Yeah.
And then we used to criticise it when the even shorter highlights, when we had 6 games or was it 7 games a weekend, was basically a player looking at the ball before he kicked it. And that was the highlight.
I hate that. Especially if I'm like searching for URC highlights or any top 14 highlights, and you get 3-minute highlights, and a minute of the 3 minutes is the player looking at the ball before a conversion. It is ridiculous.
Sorry, just putting my microphone back. It is ridiculous, right? So they've got a new one now, which is you have to watch the same try no less than 5 times. So like I've just seen this try. Let's see how the rest of the game develops. Let's see what the confrontation is like in midfield. Let's see all these other things. So I heard David Flatterman talk about the same bloody try 5 times from at least 3 different angles, which was the rest of the game. And the next try, another 5 examples of it. And then the next try, another 5. We're not actually getting any more rugby. We're just getting repeats of the same tries over and over again.
So I don't mind that as long as it's the correct tries. And I'll give you an example. Last week, who were Bath playing last week?
Northampton, no.
No.
It's first game of the season.
Exeter, no.
Leicester.
And Bath had a load of injuries in their back line. So you had Bayliss lined up on the wing. You had their reserve scrum half somewhere in there. And they did this beautiful move where I think de Glanville went into the right-hand corner off the back of a scrum. And I was trying to work out who fixed whom in midfield. Bayliss was on the blindside wing, but he came and fixed Isaiah Parese. Hassel Collins jammed in too soon and left Freddie Stewart with, I think it was 3-on-1 out wide.
He's great in that situation as well.
It was not Freddie Stewart's. I would be the first to say it was Freddie Stewart's fault. It was not Freddie Stewart's fault at all, that try. Yeah. But it was only on watching it from 4 or 5 different angles. I repeated, I replayed the replays so I could watch it from multiple different angles, multiple different times. That is fantastic for me. I want as many angles as I can. If it is a driving maul, pushover try, 1 angle is enough. One angle, then just cut straight to the following kick-off.
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly it. So every driving maul was 3 or 4 views.
It sounds like they've gone John Woo. Do you know that film director? And that's one of his things. I'll try and find a John Woo.
I don't know.
Is he an action guy?
Yes, and he's.
Did he do the Tower or something like that? Is he Korean?
Yes,
but Hong Kong.
Or Hong Kong. Anyway, but his trademark is stupid things like a white dove flying in the background of some action explosion shot. But no, he does replays ridiculously. Like in a movie, he'll do replays, the same gunshot from 4 different angles, one after the other. And they do this there's that, you talk about Korea actually, there's that Korean show that was on Netflix called The 100, and it was like a fitness challenge where they have 100 different people. There was a Korean international rugby player who was one of the competitors. They have bodybuilders and they have gymnasts and they have rugby players, and it's physical 100, which one of these 100 different body types and would be the ultimate athlete kind of thing. And when it's funny when people like seeing how long they can hang from some rings for before they fall off. When they fall off, they'll go like, ah, and then they'll show the same replay, ah,
over and over again.
ah. Sounds like rugby's going flipping Korean.
Yeah, yes. Coming over here, taking our directors' jobs. Yeah, so I want to see what happened in the rest of the game, because actually it strikes me as these clips are put together by people who might not understand rugby quite so much. Because if you watch a game, so for instance, the Exeter Saracens game, for me, one of the turning points was Exeter getting matched physically by the Saracens' defence about 20 minutes in and running out of steam.
You've just said what you've just described. Exactly what's happening. I mean, I don't know. I used to work for BT Sport. I don't work for TNT Sport anymore, but I can imagine that they've just cut the budgets because the TV deal's worth less. They're now showing every game, which is higher costs. I would imagine the subscription has probably gone down.
Yep.
I don't know, but that would be a guess. And they are probably seconding the same people that make the highlights for football. Right, you've also got to do this now.
Yeah, I get you don't want to see all the scrum resets, so that's cool. You don't want to see walking into lineouts, that's cool. You don't want to see the little chats before the penalties, that's cool. That's your hours game. That's your hours game.
Yeah, I get it. It's like when they had those games that went over, the Premiership games went over to America, and you would use American camera operators and director, and it would be camera one, camera one, camera one, just a wide shot, the whole thing on a wide shot, because they don't understand the game, don't know when to go close to a ruck and when to come out.
Yeah. It is a real skill. So I have nothing else to say about Bath, Bristol, other than that.
Well, can I just mention Gabriel O'Gray again?
So good.
He was so good.
Oh yeah, I can mention that.
So good. It's just the perfect club for him. If he couldn't be at Wasps, Bristol's the perfect place for him.
Yeah.
Well, he was at Bordeaux, wasn't he?
For a bit.
That's
for a little bit. Contact eggchasers@gmail.com, by the way. I didn't say any of that. It's our email address. And you can always get more stuff. And we had 2 extra episodes last week on patreon.com/eggchasers.
One official and the other one just Phil and corked.
Yeah.
Yeah, apologies. I just couldn't stop talking about Oktoberfest.
It was great. And Lederhosen. It was awesome. Digby Hayden's posed quite a good question.
Please.
He said, love pod blah. I've seen a lot about, quote, Barclay recently, a term used to describe footballers who embodied the Premier League at the time. Not necessarily the best, not the worst, but those who were the lifeblood of the Premier League.
It's like Ray Parlour, or is that too late?
No, I think that's probably a great shout. It would be like Andy Sinton for Queen's Park Rangers. Anyway.
When was it the Barclays Premier League? Let's just.
1992 that began, didn't it?
No, that'd be Carling, wouldn't it?
I don't know when the Premier League was. Barclays the Premier League. What's the Barclays Premier League? I don't know. I can't remember.
Carling first, then.
Oh, was it Carling?
Yeah, definitely Carling.
Oh, okay.
First. Then it was.
Maybe early 2000s, maybe 20 years ago.
What's it now?
Don't know. I haven't got a clue.
No idea.
I don't watch football.
No, I kind of follow it, but I don't know what the Premier League is.
Anyway, Digby, just to complete that while we find out when the Barclays men was, is there a rugby equivalent? Aviva men?
There's Zurich men for me.
Or Guinness men, Zurich men, who embodied the Premiership of old, or even a niche player that always holds a special place in your heart when you think of the Prem. Oh, well, I mean, there's a shirt right above your left shoulder.
Strap in, boys.
Yeah, Miles Benjamin right up there. In fact, if we could pick a 15 of like old niche names that we kind of love, or we might not get to a 15. It might just be a bunch of names, but Miles Benjamin would be on the left wing for us, wouldn't
Definitely.
it? 100%.
That's not niche, is it? It's pretty mainstream. Widely recognised as one of the best wingers, never to really make it.
Best rookie winger.
Best rookie winger.
So the Zurich men, right? That would be around the turn about
like 2000s.
Yeah,
early 2000s.
Yeah. I mean, that's got to be. It's got to be the Northampton team that won. So
Sale team that won.
Samu Manoa would be one.
No, he's won much later. You're looking
Zurich
Zurich's. You're talking.
You're talking like the Phil Vickery era.
Tim Rodber. You're talking Pat Lamb. Talking Lockheed,
Sebastian Chabal,
Pat Howard. No, later. Chabal would be
05, 06.
in your Guinness era. So in the Zurich era,
so when's Zurich from then? 2000 to 2000? Because 2000 won it in 2005.
Before 2000, I'd say like 2000. I mean 98 to 2000. I would say
Zurich would be,
but like 2000.
Gus Pichot.
Yeah. Now, when you're getting to 2000, 2002, you're looking at then Gus Peashot.
Who was that absolutely massive Bristol lock? Enormous man.
Sheridan, Archer.
Gareth Archer. He's Newcastle.
So Zurich wasn't until 2005 when Sale won the league.
Wasn't until 2005.
Yeah.
Sale won it in 06, but Chabal was there in 05, yeah.
So then Guinness would be 2005 onwards.
2005 to 2010.
Oh, so yeah, you can have Peashot, you can have Contepomi.
Yeah.
You can have Jason. Is it Jason Little?
Jason Little of Bristol, yeah. I played against all of those guys.
And Gloucester.
Yeah.
Ludovic Mercier.
Yeah.
There were just so many. All the great players for Newcastle. So I think Noon might have even gone early.
Yeah. Who was the Lee Blackett at Rotherham?
Lee Blackett, yes.
Yeah. I don't know if he was playing actually then in the Premiership. In the
welder? Not Sean Perry. There was another one who played.
Trevor Leota. Oh no, was he later?
It was a little scrum half who played for Rotherham.
Oh, I know, and he played England sevens.
Yeah, I think he had a bald head. He
had a bald head with a beard. He had like a George Clooney stubble beard.
Yeah, that would be.
He was in the England team that won the Sevens World Cup. Hold on, Rotherham.
Sure, he's a welder.
England
or something.
Sevens.
That was definitely Ben Cohen.
Yes,
definitely Ian Bolshaw.
Dave Scully.
Yeah.
Dave Scully, that's the one. Well done, Dave Scully. To me, that is like the absolute pinnacle because that's when I started sort of watching.
Just on the Premier League, not the Premiership. So Barclays, it was Barclay Card from 2001 to 2004, and then it became Barclays proper from 2004 all the way through to 2016.
So what's it now?
So really, 15 years. And now, since 2016...
Oh, please tell me it's on like TikTok or something.
No sponsor.
Really?
Wow.
No, according to this Wikipedia page, which is a comprehensive look at English football sponsorships over the eras.
They would know.
This, I mean, you can confirm that General Motors was the FA Community Shield sponsor between 1984 and 1988. As an example, so they would know if currently there was a Premier League title sponsor.
Here's one: Marcel Garvey.
So here's a story.
So Benjamin and Garvey might be your wingers,
right? So here's a story about Marcel Garvey. Right, I growing up in North Wales loved rugby so much, and we had none of it. That North Wales had a game against the Worcester Academy development side, and I heard a rumour that Marcel Garvey was going to play, and I think the game was held in Bethesda, and I drove all the way to Bethesda on the off chance that I would see Marcel Garvey standing on the wing. Can you imagine how miserable that is?
And did he play?
No, he did not. I did not see any signs of Marcel Garvey.
Gutted.
Do you know, in the Zurich time, I've just looked at this, there was a wild card match. 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th played for a Zurich wildcard. They played a tournament, a little mini semi-final final to get to the Heineken Cup for the following year.
Oh, wow.
But, because Wasps won that one year. Andy Good went for Wasps. Just a straight
but they didn't just go for the next team in the league. They had a playoff between 4 teams for a Champions Cup spot.
Malcolm O'Kelly, that is a classic Zurich man.
Malcolm O'Kelly, definitely.
Oh,
Mapletop.
Mapletop.
What was the name of that? What was the name of that Leeds Tykes flanker who played for England? Who was South African?
He's definitely Guinness. He's
Shrek.
Save Shrek.
Yeah, they called him Shrek. He went to Sales, didn't he, for a year?
What's his name?
Andre
Faree.
Andre Faree.
Yeah. Or Van Gisbergen. Oh, Van Gisbergen.
Yes. MGV.
Yes. Or MV,
whatever it was.
Yeah.
MVG. Yeah, great question. I'll have to put some real thought into that.
Yeah, we'll definitely consider that and come back with a Zurich man 15. Do a bit of research. Oh, that's good.
Other games that anyone watched?
Yeah, Sale versus Gloucester. I've got lots to say about this.
Before you do that, can I just point out, as much as I'm saying the fixtures in the Premiership next weekend are amazing, and they are, the biggest club match in the world is happening next week.
Hang on.
Any thoughts?
Club match. Rugby club match.
The biggest club match in the
world.
Be
something. It's going to be some bloody school game in South Africa, isn't it?
I
I mean...
NRL?
No, I'd like
Rabbitohs
genuinely. What do you
versus
think? What do you think would be the
It's
biggest?
got to be a club game.
The biggest domestic rugby match in the world.
Toulouse,
yeah.
versus who's in that part of the
it's
world?
not Racing, is it? 'Cause they're
Montpellier?
not. No, they're
Racing
not.
don't have the history. Toulon don't have the
So
history.
Claremont, something like that, maybe.
Racing Claremont. Claremont versus Toulon's going on right now as we speak.
Who are the great powers?
Toulouse.
Toulouse, obviously. Everyone else is not really a great power.
Leinster Munster.
Munster's a great show.
Correct.
Yeah.
At Croke Park, and they've already sold over 70,000 tickets.
Wow.
Which is just crazy,
That's
isn't
awesome.
it? So 5:45 p.m. next Saturday evening
If
That
the
is
welfare,
at Croke Park.
and if they bother with the welfare policies, it's a disgrace. If this is and I mean that, if this is a welfare policy thing, when they play like they do, when they pull those cards during the Christmas time, what a joke. But I hope it's not.
No.
And one of the stories of this game is going to be Frawley Crowley. Because
yeah.
Kieran Frawley actually, I mean, something must have happened to Leo Cullen where he was like kidnapped and thrown in the back of a van when the team sheet had to be handed in, because Kieran Frawley actually started 10 for Leinster this weekend. For some reason, he's had an obsession with Ross Byrne and hasn't given Kieran Frawley a shot at 10, but Frawley was 10 and looked really good. And
Which is weird for the Island 10.
Frawley v Crowley next weekend. By the way, we haven't spoken about Johnny Sexton or anything. Have you paid any attention to Sexton? I would say
Was he drunk?
Right, I'm going to be honest. I've seen lots of people talking about this, and I've seen our WhatsApp group mentioning it. I haven't seen anything he said.
So I've not seen what
I've
he
seen the
said.
headline. I didn't bother reading it because I knew it wasn't true. But
What's the headline?
no, I'm not going to talk because I'm wondering if I'm. You make me doubt myself whether I've seen the right headline now. It's not going to be. No, you continue.
No, I know there was some like back and forth about with him and Rico Ioane.
Yeah, so
That's not what I'm talking about.
So I've seen the video of that, which you can't obviously. It's just from the sideline.
Yeah.
You
All
can't
right,
see
I'm
what
talking about
was
something
said.
completely separate. So please, this is why I didn't
okay.
say anything.
Oh, yours sounds more interesting.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's
Patreon
really
pod
not.
on that. So I've seen that video, and
Yeah.
it looks like Rico Ioane said something unsavoury.
Yeah.
But it's a World Cup quarter final. It doesn't matter.
Oh,
it's just
who cares?
words.
Is this really? Is this trawling through the World Cup? Is it?
Yeah.
It's Johnny Sexton's autobiography, which hasn't come out yet. But what I will say is, and the fact that I'm talking about it now, his publicist and his PR team have done an
Have done a good job.
absolutely amazing job, because everyone in the rugby universe, I haven't even read the stories, and I know Johnny Sexton's got an autobiography coming out.
Yeah.
I did not know that because I didn't. I just saw Farrell would be one of the best players of a generation. I said,
Oh, Johnny Sexton said, yeah, Johnny. One of the things Johnny Sexton said was,
I'm not clicking that link.
if Owen Farrell was Irish, he would be considered the greatest Irish player ever.
Of course, isn't true, is it? Johnny Sexton would be.
He did say that Farrell should be starting. I think the headline I saw intimated that Sexton had said that Farrell should be starting for the Lions next year.
Agreed. Hard agree. He's the best 10 available for the Lions.
Will his dad pick him?
No, Fergus Burke is.
He should be.
I think we found that 3 and 3.
I would love it. Just bearing in mind, there's a danger that this Lions tour.
Oh, how have Racing got on?
They won. They beat Van.
Gutted.
Away.
And there was a photograph of Owen Farrell. He went into the Van dressing room and he was sat with Mako having a beer.
Oh, I
afterwards
bet
or
he
whatever.
was. He's
But
all about bodies.
I was going to say about that Mako and opponent. It's only when he sat next to Owen Farrell you realise how massive Mako is. He is huge. You should know that from when you interviewed him and told him he's Welsh.
Yeah. No, I'm not. In his thick Welsh. I was surprised exactly how Welsh he sounded.
I
took me
imagine,
back.
I imagine living in France has been particularly good for his BMI as well.
Yeah, I'd be loving it. Well, he's doing but Van are doing all right. What was I saying? No. Bearing in mind, there's a danger that this Lions series, I mean, it's not going to be a damp squib, and it's not. People are going to care, and it is going to be. It's going to be big. People will care, and it will be great. But there's a danger it could be not as great as it could have been in the past, or has been in the past, or could have been. And one way to make sure that it's all anyone talks about, and it's massively
They only just beat Van.
27-24, yeah, correct. Away. But
A relegation dogfight.
Yeah. Fair play.
No, what I was going to say was
pointer.
how much, in terms of PR, Johnny Sexton autobiography would be pale into insignificance next to the PR that the Lions tour would generate if Andy Farrell made Owen Farrell his captain. That would be amazing.
That would be quite cool.
The hype would be huge.
Imagine the hype if he didn't pick him at all.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous 2-year contracts, they said, "What the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass?" So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
Be ready no matter what the temperature with Crop Metcalf's $99 heating and cooling system check. Call 1-800-GO-CROP or visit cropmetcalf.com.
Crop Metcalf is the one with 5 stars.
Crop Metcalf, home of the 5-star technician.
That would be pretty big. I mean, I don't want to see that. I want to see him playing, but we will see.
Just on Racing, Diamandi, that's a South African kid, right? Has he just gone to Racing?
Hakshiva Daimani.
Has he just gone to Racing? Or was that always planned?
No, he signed for them a few months back. Or whenever it was.
Yeah, interesting. Right, so Sale Gloucester.
Sale Gloucester, so I've seen the highlights.
Haven't seen
I've not seen the detail.
Yeah.
Not
Well, I'll start with Gloucester.
Not overly bothered because neither of these two teams are going to be competing for spots. Well, actually,
hang on a minute.
No. Sale with everyone fit, they will. 100%.
Sale will, yeah.
Yes.
So there's a lot to take out from this game, I think. So first and foremost, Gloucester are kind of giving you an example of what to do if you have no money. Right? If you have no money and you're really struggling, what you should do is...
Which team are you saying?
Gloucester.
Gloucester are one of the 3 solvent rugby clubs in England.
Because they're not spending their money.
They are not looking good.
How do you... Really?
So I hear. They're the ones that you keep hearing continuously are in the biggest danger.
Could be, yeah,
continuously.
I have heard that they could be the...
Yeah. So if you don't have much money, here's what you should do.
But I've also heard that about their opposition this week, so...
Sale?
Yeah.
Sale are all right. So you go and you buy proven people who are on the tail end of their career, who have still got something left in the tank, and they've done wonderfully to get Christian Wade. Gareth Anscombe is somehow still fit after 3 games, which is...
remarkable.
It's a gift. It's a miracle. But the one who I think is possibly, after 3 games, the best 9 in the Premiership is Thomas Williams. Thomas Williams is absolutely superb. He is brilliant.
Much maligned whenever he's in a Welsh jersey. I've always liked him for Wales.
I have as well, actually.
But oddly, he seems to get, not like a lot of people really get laying into him.
He is so good. And I think he actually sets the pace for Gloucester so much. He drags Gloucester on the field. He scored the first try. He decides when they play that the lads are often not even... they said the same thing, actually, about Peter Stringer when he went to Bath. So when Peter Stringer went to Bath, they said it was a nightmare because he made everyone play so fast that they got physically destroyed. So that was the first thing. The second thing is, though, even when you've got all of that talent and you can score some lovely tries like Gloucester did, the thing that does win games is coaching. And Sale might not be good to watch, they might not be attractive to watch, but they have got some real good fundamental coaching there. So I think the point where this game turned was a connection between Gus Waugh and his wingers for their box kick and chase, which is possibly the most boring, dull rugby thing you can think of. But it turned the game.
But one of the most important things.
Yeah, I think that turned the game. And then after that, just Sale went into a little bit of autopilot, which they can do because they're such a cohesive unit. And again, they're not great to watch. But think about who they've got. We spoke about it at the start of the podcast. That back row is not athletic compared to what they could put out.
Yeah. It's not as athletic as their counterparts.
No, it's not. It's really not.
Zach Mercer and Jack Clement and Ackerman coming off the bench as well.
Yeah, and that's where you've got to think about it. When Sale have got their...
And Albert Tuisui coming off the bench.
Yeah.
The Gloucester back row is way better. Ackerman and Tuisui off the bench.
Yeah, like you look at the starting Sale back row and you're like, okay, Those guys are all court players. They do everything well. They're great at the line-up. They're great at the scrimmage. They absolutely bang. They can carry. They can jackal. Like, there's not much they can't do. And then the replacements that they bring in are guys who can basically do a job. So I'll give you an example of a guy who can do a job. Si McIntyre can scrimmage.
Yep.
Beaumont can go in the air, but they can't do everything. They're not.
Beaumont had a couple of years, about 9 years ago, where he could do everything.
Oh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
Playing at 8, all elbows and knees and stuff.
6'7", playing at 8.
I'm just looking at the teams. If I were being devil's advocate, and this is one of the things where, for two reasons, I have concerns about the salary cap going up. Well, so I want players to earn as much as they can. In principle, I kind of don't. I was going to say I don't like a salary cap. I don't know. I don't mind the salary cap. They have them in American sports. It's just they're really high, so everyone gets to earn really good money.
Yes.
Salary caps suppress wages in England, which enables clubs to be solvent.
To stay solvent. Well, they're not even solvent, but keep trading. It
keeps owners from bankrupting their club and making them go under. It's probably more accurate because there is no lower level that they have to spend. So in the case of Wasps, Worcester, and London Irish, it was just really, really bad management. But devil's advocate here. So I have concerns about it going up from the point of view of it might decrease the level of competitiveness because some clubs will spend the money because they don't mind losing the money, and some clubs don't have the money. Looking at that squad, the competitiveness has gone up, but when you look at that, the quality has gone down quite significantly in the Premiership.
Across these two teams?
Yeah. Look at you've already mentioned the back five of Sale Scrum.
Sale have got a lot of injuries at the moment.
Yeah, they do.
They've got, I think it's a dozen players who were unavailable for this game.
But I think
including a lot of
this is the Premiership now, which I get.
Yeah.
It's great.
And also, this is the beauty of the Premiership, right?
Oh, no, 100%. Totally.
So this is what, again, at the very start of the podcast, I made a little bit of a joke about Owen Farrell costing 8 times as much as Fergus Burke.
Marquee player, but
yeah. Yeah, but that wasn't the point, really. The point I was trying to make was when I see a big-name player come into a team now, I never take them seriously. I assume that they're a declining force and that they've been picked because of their name rather than their ability. And when Saracens sign a player, I always assume the research has been done. Same with Leicester, same with a few others. So I'm not really bothered about the name value because I know so many of these teams do so much research into the guys before they bring them in that they're probably the right guy or we're going to learn something about them. With Gloucester, it is a bit more of a budget team, but even so, they have got, their first 15, some serious talent. Some really serious talent there.
But it's then...
It's a risk, isn't it?
How deep is... Yeah.
And they've gambled, and they've said, right, we're going to gamble on players that play very, very well, like high-talent guys, but high-risk guys that we won't see them.
Yes. Yeah. One of the moments, because I didn't see the full game, I saw the highlights, maybe my favourite moment of the whole weekend was Aaron Reid's double try-saving tackle.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
That was absolutely incredible.
Aaron Reid played really, really well. I mean, everyone thinks of Aaron Reid as just a very fast individual. He is. And he kept Christian Wade very quiet until Christian Wade went off with injury, which is a shame.
Yeah, was it rib injury?
Yeah, it was. Van Rijn landed on him awkwardly. And the other thing that Reedy did really well, and Roebuck was chasing those kicks. Mm-hmm. And then it just allows Sale to go through their gears and work out what they want to do. I mean, they won this game, and like you say, Tim, the quality that isn't really there. It made me think of something else too, think of 2 other points. One, when was the last time that a really top team, or we had a period of top teams with top scrum halves?
Nick White at Exeter.
Yes.
Yeah.
The double winners. He was amazing.
He wasn't.
Toulouse with Anton.
Danny Kerr.
No, in the Premiership.
In the Premiership.
Danny Kerr.
Danny Kerr, yeah. Yeah, maybe Danny Kerr.
Can't argue that.
Yeah.
But then almost you can get away with not having top-class scrum halves. Like, again, I love Gus Waugh. Would you say he's a top-class scrum half?
No. I think he's brilliant. He's been utilised brilliantly in that team. But I think Sanderson would kill to have a fit referee work.
The bigger question is...
Apparently he's on his way.
Really?
So I hear he is looking around the league. Yeah, so might not see much more of him.
He needs to get himself fit and well.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
Yeah,
the bigger question and the better question is, name the last title-winning team that had a average 9. And Saracens managed it.
Saracens did it, yeah.
Saracens did it.
But other than
times.
that, you think the last one's Alex Mitchell,
Superb.
Nick White, as you mentioned, Danny Kerr,
Obviously,
Ben Youngs.
Wigglesworth has got 6 titles.
Wigglesworth.
Like, is he the best? I mean, he's very good at what he does.
He's an international class 9.
But is he
It depends which title.
Aaron Smith? You know,
Because not many players are Aaron Smith.
Not many players are. I don't think England have ever had a scrum half as good as Aaron Smith.
yeah. Okay, would Wigglesworth like top 3 in the Premiership?
He would have been when he was playing, yeah.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
so over Ben Spencer? Well, he was over Ben Spencer because he played in the same team.
He was,
Yeah,
So that's the end of that one.
And at 35, he got picked for England above Ben Spencer.
And he was also over, what's his name? Jack Van Portfleet. So, yeah,
And
okay.
in that Premiership final, only a few months ago, Alex Mitchell's as good as Ben Spencer is, and he is, and I hope he gets a shot for England now that Alex Mitchell is injured. You change the 9s over, and Bath win.
Just my opinion is there's quite a lot of average. Like every team wants a top class 10, and I think there's a lot of very good 10s in the Premiership, particularly last year. But there's not that many world class 9s.
Well, I think that's a cultural thing actually, because I've contemplated this and done videos of it on the channel talking about this, and I would also say that there's not many good South African 10s historically.
We did discuss a bit of this.
Yeah, you did, didn't you? Yeah.
And also, when you look at France, we've talked about this before, and Phil made the point, because culturally, the way the playmaker on the field in England is 10.
Yeah.
The playmaker on the field in France is 9. And if Marcus Smith or George Ford were French, they would be scrum halves.
They
Yeah.
probably would, wouldn't they?
I think that is correct.
And Owen Farrell would be like David Skrella.
Well, yeah, no, Owen Farrell's a classic French 10.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is.
Yeah,
He's very South African, isn't he?
Very.
He would be the darling of South Africa.
That's the irony, because they hate him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they
hate what they love, don't they?
But they would love him so much. If he was South African.
I'd even like him as a South African 10.
Yeah.
You love him
he
as
would
a
be my
South
favorite. I kid you not, he'd be my favourite player on the planet if he was South African. I would love him so
Which
much.
is ironic considering just how much of South Africa he actually owns.
He owns more of South Africa than most of the South Africans. And they're farmers.
Just to make your point about the underrated nature of scrum halves in the Premiership, which I agree with.
Yeah, I agree.
It is the lowest paid. I was certain it was. I've just looked up last year's salary cap report. It was the lowest paid position out of all the positions in the Premiership, which is partly down to the fact they're so specialised. So you have to have at least 3 in your squad.
I think it comes down to, and I watch a lot more French rugby now than I used to, and I think it's down to the structured nature of the way English teams play rugby. So every English team, from the Premiership to TOC H and the university team that I coach and my son's under-17 team, every single team, with very, very few exceptions, play some form of the pod system where you have the 3-3-2 or a 1-3-3-1. You have a back out the back of the triangle. You can pop it out the back. You can tip it onto the man. Every single team at every level plays that structure, and quite often with a territorial kicking game attached and a high emphasis on the maul. And French teams have an element of that shape, but they're so much more instinctive and so much looser.
Well, you might probably be able to answer this question, but I bet Dan Robson is much more highly valued in France than he is in England.
100%.
I imagine he goes great there.
Well, he's perfect because he can do the loose bits, which he was never valued for.
No, in fact, if anything, it's a downside.
It held him back. It held him back. But he will also bring an element of Englishness, which he's done very well with Poe. With that.
Yeah. And the last thing I was going to say about all of this is, with all of Gloucester's talent, and they did have a lot of talent on display, talent doesn't win you games on its own. Like you have to have that structure.
Yeah.
And that's what Sale have done really, really well here. Really well.
Credit to Sanderson.
Yeah. And Will Addison went off injured.
Predictable.
Yeah. So whether we ever see him again, I do not know.
Yeah.
He's off again.
Yes.
It's just not good enough. That's an example of a risky signing. Well, it depends how much he's been paid.
Yeah. I suspect it will be not that much, given that it was, we looked it up the other day, 40-something appearances in 6 years for Ulster.
Oh, here's one last thing I've been thinking about in relation to Gloucester. Does it feel to you a little bit like Gloucester are always looking for an easy ticket for a win around the fly half? Ever since Billy Burns left, they've not bothered trying to develop anyone. They just try and buy the next thing.
Sippers,
Hastings, Owen Williams.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how much they use George Barton, who, while there's no Santi Carreras, is playing at 15.
Santi Carreras. He's at 15 at the moment. I don't think he's getting anywhere near it if Gareth Anscombe stays fit. I'd add Gareth Anscombe to the list.
Yep.
Even to a degree, Charlie Atkinson.
But I guess that makes sense. And if bearing how important, particularly in England, more so than other countries or some other countries, the 10 is so important as the decision-making brains of your team, then it kind of makes sense to invest your money there.
It seems to be their whole identity is around their 10. There's a lot of other 10s go into a team with an identity. So even someone like Finn Smith, who's come into Northampton, he's sort of merged into Northampton way. They haven't become... Northampton did not become Finn Smith in the same way Harlequins, to be fair, did not become Marcus Smith.
That was a beautiful match, though, wasn't it? His skill set and nice. What Northampton already had. Bath is another one, like Gloucester, who haven't managed to cultivate a 10. They've had Orlando Bailey, and it hasn't worked.
Like him, tried the Sippers drug, didn't really work. Tried all sorts. Yeah, they are always hunting for a big name 10, and the nature of their identity will change depending on who that 10 is. I mean, Gloucester they used to have a bit more of a solid identity around the scrum. I can't remember the last time I saw a really formidable Gloucester scrum.
No, it's been a while.
Except for when Jamal Ford-Robinson played.
Jamal Ford-Robinson did the Superman celebration after winning the pen.
Yeah, but other than that, yeah. So that was my other thought on, just a generic thought on Gloucester.
Yeah, interesting.
And there was another game on Friday night. It's actually a similar scoreline. I was expecting one to be quite a low-scoring game and one to be quite a high-scoring game. They were almost identical scorelines, 31-27 and 33-29. It was an entertaining game, though, the Harlequins Northampton.
I only watched
lovely tries scored.
2/3 of this, if that.
Quins went into the lead, and Northampton scored 2 nice tries through Marcus Smith. One of them, I think it was his first one, stepping inside Freeman out wide, like accelerate to go around the outside of him.
Stops, goes on the inside.
And he doesn't, as was it Austin Healy was pointing out, he doesn't have enough pace, so Freeman should have just trusted his pace. But he doesn't. Freeman overchases and Smith just steps back inside, glides under. Smith looked ace. Playing at 15 with 10 come 15 for England. Marcus Smith playing at 15 for Harlequins, and 15 come 10 for England. George Furback playing at 15 for Northampton Saints. Interesting little matchup.
Yeah, just on this little matchup, because I think this could have England ramifications as well. I get it when you're the international coach and you just have unlimited resources to you, potentially. You might literally have 2 of the best fly halves of a generation, just like New Zealand have, and you've got to decide, well, what do we do with this ridiculous talent?
Well, England had Ford and Farrell and no 12s.
Yeah, Farrell and Marcus Smith, who went to 15, and everyone thought it was mad when he went to 15. I do not understand why you have... just give me a number for Marcus Smith being paid. 600?
Yeah, half a mil.
Plus, yeah.
I don't understand why £600,000 is in a 15 jersey and, I don't know, £150,000 is in a 10 jersey. That will never make sense to me in a million years.
I think it's to do partly with injuries, but also partly because that combination doesn't work the other way around.
It was definitely injuries, for one.
Yes.
Definitely injuries.
But also that doesn't... Jared Evans doesn't go 15.
Yeah.
Marcus Smith can play 15 and can play there very well and score 2 tries as it happens.
I was wondering if this is England-led.
I don't believe so.
I don't think so.
I think these two, the Furbank and Smith, will both be starting for England. One will be wearing the 10 shirt and one will be wearing the 15 shirt, and it is not the controversial way of...
And the selection of the squad would indicate that that's not in Steve Borthwick's thinking, because he's only named 2 10s.
2 10s, the Smith brothers.
Has he only named 2 10s?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not starting Finn Smith, I don't think. Or maybe he is, the New England.
And Marcus at 15.
Well, he is the guy, to be fair to Borthwick, that started this craze. And Marcus Smith is very good at 15. I mean, he's not... Yeah, he's very good at 15. I don't know what else to say. He's very good.
But I would...
England's first game is against New Zealand in 1 month's time. 2nd of November.
And George Furbank
they look good in New Zealand. And I think maybe save for the players who are back fit. And thinking about Steve Borthwick, nothing is going to change. It will be the same team.
Yeah.
As it should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where possible, no Henry Slade, obviously, but where possible, it will be the exact same team. Because they did well.
Yeah. So,
and the Premier, and as I'm coming more and more to the Eddie Jones thinking that the test match animal thing, that watching Premiership is an indicator of a player's form, yes, but it is not it's not really a barometer on which you should make the sole and only determination on whether a player should start for England.
Well, get Don Armand in.
Yeah.
I think it's Rocket Aguni.
Yeah.
Get him in.
I think that's almost true by definition, that it is multifactorial and that it shouldn't be the sole determination. But I don't know what else to do it on. I mean, if I was selecting the Welsh team, how would I do it? If I was selecting the Scottish team, how would I do it?
So yeah, of course. So if you were starting from nothing, and Steve Borthwick did do this when he came in, he went, I'm picking on form, and he did, and he followed through on that. But now he's also got, and I guess it's that balance of keeping it fresh and making sure you still have people fighting for it and you reward good play and stuff. But he's now, as I say, in July, 2 months ago, he had a team that I think did pretty well in New Zealand and probably should have won one of those games. And would you, because Will Butt has 2 really, really good Premiership games,
yes,
do you
get
go,
the kids in?
Gone,
but that actually would be an Eddie Jones move. If Eddie Jones saw those 2 games, thought this guy's test match animal, he would do that.
Yes, agreed.
Well, he would bring him
if he saw whatever it is he was looking for.
He'd bring him into the squad.
Yeah,
he'd have a look, because
then haze him a bit.
Yeah, haze him.
Yeah.
Just mess with him.
The number of players,
break him, send him home.
Have a beer, mate. Have a beer.
It's still a great story.
It's a great story. But the number of players that Eddie Jones brought into the squad and just were never seen again. I remember seeing some stats. It was something like 180 players,
and that must be him making the determination on his own whether that person is a test match animal, that person is not a test match animal.
I think there's a bit of that in there, yeah.
Rightly or wrongly, by the way. I'm not.
So I think it's also excuse culture. So if I don't have enough, I think I could win any game of rugby if I had exactly the players that I needed at exactly the right time. Right, so I don't know what they look like, but in my mind, well, no, I do know exactly what they look like. They need to be a stone heavier than all the other players, 2 inches taller, and twice as skillful. Now, if I have all those players at my disposal, I think I'm going to win a World Cup, and they've got to be great team players. Those are my test match animals by my own standard. And if I don't have enough of them, I'm going to whinge that I don't have them. And that's the Eddie Jones excuse. I don't have enough of these. What I've defined as the standard that I need to win test matches.
So I don't think he ever used that excuse at all.
No,
he always said that we don't have enough test match animals.
And he also equalled the world record number of international wins and got to a World Cup final.
Because he's got an amazing talent pool.
But he never made that excuse.
I've heard him say we don't have enough. The test match animal. I think that's an excuse.
No, he never said we don't have enough test match animals. I've never ever heard that, because he would always say it was my fault. He would never blame the players. He would always wear it. Even at times where it was kind of nonsense.
Well, as the Queen once said, recollections differ.
I tell you what, you find the evidence of him saying I don't have enough. Okay. Any other games? I will mention, I don't really want to talk about Ulster, but I will mention Stockers. Have you seen Stockers try from this week?
It was like vintage Stockers.
It was like 2018.
2018 Stockers.
Stockers.
Q-bed, go.
It was exactly like that. Gas, chip, chase, regather, crash over the line. Beautiful. It's just a shame we got absolutely smashed in all of the facets of the game. So we'll just mention Stockers' try, which was superb.
With a full team? Just reading your team sheet now. Is that basically what you've got? Is that reasonable?
Not.
Ben Carson was playing, the American neurosurgeon.
I think it's Scott Carson.
Can I say
the Man City goalkeeper?
Right.
Can I say maybe the most exciting, or no, not exciting, because I don't just love wild attacking rugby. But if you wanted the most wild attacking rugby, a game between Bristol and the Lions would be so good. You've got to watch this team. Keep an eye on the
Lions.
They absolutely spanked.
Who is the coach of the Lions?
I don't know. They spanked the Lions. They spanked Edinburgh. 55-21. They were 48-0 up at half time, and they've just got some just wild attacking play.
Well, you got to remember, Lions were so close to winning Super Rugby. Was it 3 years running? They definitely made 2 finals under Ackerman.
With
and they had some. I mean,
Johan Jansi van Rensburg.
Rohan Jansi van
and Elton Janchis.
Remember
how good his quads were?
Faf was coming off the bench for a period
because of Conrad, someone or other.
Who's the winger they had?
Crombrink, the Punisher.
Yeah,
Johan Crombrink.
Oh yeah.
God, that was something. Yeah, that was about
a great team.
17, 18, that period. But they never quite got it over the line, did they?
No. Lost twice to the Crusaders, probably.
And just,
maybe not Crusaders.
And
maybe
just while we're
Hurricanes.
talking around different leagues and stuff, and talk about it varies week to week, but generally speaking, the top 14 is just immense. 3 point. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 out of the 7 matches were within 3 points. There was a 5-point differential, a 9-point differential. And there was one game that was a 21-point deficit. It's
21-point deficit. Which losers did that?
La Rochelle.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking about URC because there was a 26-point deficit.
No, URC. This was one of those weekends where you go, God, the bad teams are bad.
Now
the good teams are very good.
I didn't see the game, but I did see an email about it. Munster Ospreys. It sounds like something I wanted to watch just for the spectacle.
Biblically bad weather. Yeah,
really. I might go back and watch that.
It was comically bad weather. Like there was a massive storm and wind. It's one of those where a player would try and kick it and it would end up bananaing back behind where they were.
It was a 4-try game, but Munster only scored 23 points, which means 4 unconverted tries and one penalty. So I've not seen a second of it, but that tells you something about the conditions.
Yeah. Rugby's such a good game,
isn't it?
It's so good. It's so much good rugby, and in a few weeks' time we'll have international rugby back.
Disrupting our Premiership.
Yeah, well, I don't know why you're excited about that, but fine.
I love it.
Do you want to talk about next week's games?
Oh, one other thing, which is not a big story, but did you see who signed for the Crusaders to replace Saracens' Fergus Burke?
James O'Connor.
Yes.
That's a crazy signing, isn't it?
It is. It does seem a bit nuts, but...
So someone was pointing out that it might be a sign that the New Zealand system is not quite as robust as people make out. So having...
Who makes out that the New Zealand system is robust?
I would think it's quite robust.
Yeah, in terms of...
Talent.
In terms of talent, yeah.
I don't know about the finances and whatnot, but just in terms of they can get rid of Dan Carter and Richie Munga turns up and it's like, so what? Big deal.
Richie Munga, who has forced out Bowden Barrett, one of the best players, and has pushed Damien McKenzie, one of the world's best out halves, into third choice place. So yeah, the talent at 10 historically has been phenomenal.
But 2 signings, the Freddie Burns signing for, was it Chiefs he went to? He went to Chiefs.
I can't remember.
That was the first one to be criticised.
Pratchell.
Oh, Pratchell's there as well, isn't he?
There's no R in Pratchell. It's Patchell.
Patchell.
Yeah, I always say Pratchell, don't I?
Yeah, and there's no ones. Patchell, Burns, and now O'Connor. Now, at no point have James O'Connor for a short period of time was considered a world-class rugby player, but in no particular position. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. When he was 18,
he's like this, like the next Gitto, except Gitto was world-class in every position.
Yeah,
they looked at,
but he was also rapid as well. James O'Connor.
Was, yeah.
Yeah, Gitto was never rapid. He was rapid because I remember him chasing down my beloved Tommy Bowe in the
for Toulon.
No, in the World Cup. In the corner, I think it was an intercept. Tommy Bowe goes nearly 80 metres and is caught in the corner by James O'Connor. It's a very famous try-saving tackle. It might not have actually been in the World Cup. Ireland versus Australia, try-saving tackle.
Yeah, so having those 3 guys, it's the first 2 signings which drew the ire of somebody in New Zealand saying, this just shows that we're not as robust at producing talent as we think we are. I don't know if that's true or not. I just thought I'd bring it up again.
The NRL is definitely more of a competitor than it ever has been.
Yes, because it's a phenomenal competition, isn't it? Phenomenal. I've got some thoughts on...
God, it was the 2011 World Cup. That seems like a long time ago.
Well, because it is a long time ago.
It is.
You've got some thoughts on what were you going to say?
On culture, but I'll either save it for the end of this podcast or Patreon, because you don't want to hear it just now. So we'll finish off the games. And
was there something you set up in the kitchen? Oh, don't say this now. I want to talk about that.
Yeah,
so if it's worth 5 minutes, I can't remember exactly what we were talking. I know we were talking, broadly speaking, about my son's team. And
we were, and I think it's well worth talking about, actually, because it really gives us an insight into local rugby. In fact, should we talk about that now?
Sure.
And then we'll do the predictions.
Yeah.
No one cares about the predictions, really, do they?
So what?
In fact, shall we just actually 2 seconds? Although it is a good week of games,
it is a good week of games.
So actually, we do want to talk about.
Let's do that then. Let's do that first.
Let's do the predictions.
Predictions: Friday night, Sale at home to Newcastle, King of the North.
I'm going to go and watch that.
Home win.
Home win. Yeah, I wish that was more fun.
Yes.
I really want to see Exeter bounce back. With all my heart.
Exeter, Bristol.
I want to see Cryface and the Cubs get absolutely smashed.
I think Bristol are going to win this.
So do I.
I think Bristol are going to win it as well.
Then Gloucester hosting Bath.
Come on, Gloucester.
Which I think Bath are going to correct things from this weekend just gone.
I just love the idea of all these old men lacing up their boots for, like, the last dance.
If you could be in any place in England watching rugby, I would stand in the shed for that one. That atmosphere will be
dynamite,
awesome.
Isn't it?
Although it'll be great at Welford Road as well. It'll be great at the Stoop.
For 5.
Saracens are going to smash Harlequins. Do we agree with that? Shall we say 20 points to Saracens?
No.
No? You reckon more?
They've got no Dombrand, have they? And they've got
that's not their problem.
They've got injuries in their back three.
Mental fortitude is their problem, and the fact that the opposition is Saracens, that's their biggest problem.
Saracens are
going to smash them.
I think Saracens are.
It's going to be the biggest deficit. Here's a prediction: outside of Newcastle, this will be the biggest deficit between two teams in a game this year.
This year
in the Premiership.
Wow. I think Saracens are going to win. I think they'll win by 2 scores.
They're going to run riot, and Harlequins are going to look terrified. They won't know what to do.
And maybe the hardest one to predict is Leicester versus Northampton.
Yeah,
very difficult.
No, I think Leicester are going to win that.
Yes, I agree. Bath will probably beat Gloucester.
Yeah. Bath and Bristol will win away. I'm going to go for Sale, Leicester, and I think the hardest one to pick is the Sunday game.
No, the easiest way. What, the one with the biggest deficit in the biggest deficit of the year
in human history?
Quins are good.
Yeah, they were great last year as well. Guess what happened? Smashed.
I think there's going to be 3 away wins. Bath, Bristol, Saracens.
On Fergus Burke's locker is a little post-it written by Owen Farrell about how you unstitch Harlequins really easily. And he'll just follow those instructions. It'll be 3 little bullet points, and Fergus Burke will go and do it, and he'll do it better than Owen Farrell.
Oh, they're great. And their back row, in fact, their whole scrum, Marrow will be back next week.
Yeah.
Their back 5 of Saracen scrum is just immense.
Well, hang on a minute. Don't forget that front 3. Because they'll be going up probably against Lamasatelli, who I saw in real life, who I did not think was good.
Although he has been better than that recently. He
was not good at Sale.
He put Northampton under pressure this weekend.
The new lad at hooker or Jack Walker.
By
the way,
Walker's a good player.
I like the other lad whose name escapes me at the moment. Jabuli. Yeah, he's going to be good. He's not yet, but he's going to be good. And Finn Baxter. I think they're going to get punished.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I've just got a feeling about Quins. But
so have I. We're thinking exactly along the same lines here, mate.
So there we go. Contact eggchasers@gmail.com. I can't remember what bit of it you were interested in.
Right, so whilst I was playing against Glossop this week, won another one, so we're 4-1 now. I asked you any rugby, and you have been playing rugby. Well, you haven't been playing rugby, but your son has, because you got your under 17s team.
Under 17s.
On the field, which in of itself is quite is quite the achievement.
Most clubs at that age group go to a combined under-18s team and the under-17s, under-18s play together, which I imagine is probably what you did at Sedgley Park, Phil.
When I was there, we had a junior Colts and a senior Colts.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, some clubs do, most don't.
Yeah.
That's what we would have liked to have done. We won the Lancashire Cup at under-16s, just as you would have heard on the podcast back in May, April, whenever it was. So that's an awesome. That was like fantastic. We would love to have then joined and been all under-17s in an under-18 senior Colts team. Didn't have that option because Broughton Park didn't have an under-18s. And running Colts is tough because it's at that age when like the leap between GCSE and A-level is massive.
Right, okay. Do you know of any hockey or netball teams that run an under-17s?
No idea.
You need to find out. You need to find out and make sure that you offer them food after their game, which simultaneously finishes after your game in the same clubhouse.
It's a great shout.
It's a great shout.
It is a great shout.
It is a great shout. If you want those boys to show up, have it next to a hockey team or a netball team, and they watch them come.
When lads go to college or sixth form, whatever the case may be, that's a natural time. So my son's just got his first proper job, and that starts to have an impact.
Yep.
He's in a band, which has an impact. Girlfriend has an impact.
Maths homework.
He's doing. Yeah,
sure. Okay. That's what he's doing.
Has an impact. The amount of bloody homework he does, honestly, he's doing maths, chemistry, and computer science.
Why can't that band play in the rugby club after one of the games?
Well, it's not a bad shout.
And then more people.
Yeah, but anyway, so it has been a struggle getting a team out on the field, but we've managed to.
So you're losing a couple more players. So you can play now, but then you lose a few more.
Yeah, we've got a couple of guys about to sign rugby league. Well, they've signed terms, but they start their rugby league when the pre-season goes back. One of them signs for Wakefield. One of them signs for Leeds.
Great, isn't it?
Which is great for them.
Superb.
It's awesome.
And you're not going to be able to pick up the phone to Leeds or Wakefield. It's not like they're playing for Saddleworth and say, hey, do you mind if they just play?
Yeah.
We're just going to be no. This is like the big leagues now.
Yeah.
So you can't do that.
So what was the element that you were interested in?
You only need to replace 2 lads. So what are you thinking? How are you going about this?
We've got a few things. So there's a thing called a star scheme, which is, and Broughton Park is the closest club to the centre of Manchester.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Something which I reminded the lads of today when they let in a soft try. And it's and it's amazing. Well, I say this to them, and honestly, they go out and they start leathering people afterwards. I'm like, lads, we've just got a bunch of boys. We've got a bunch of lads from Cheshire coming here to the closest. Yeah, I know, to the closest club to the centre of Manchester. You are, remember. Yeah, fine. I don't say this to them, but fine. Yeah, there's a vegan deli in Chorlton, but but you're inner city You're in inner city Manchester kids, and you're letting a load of Cheshire.
Yeah.
You're let a load of Cheshire private school boys just run through you, and they go out and leather people.
Yeah, they're all going to grow up to be middle class doctors, dentists, and solicitors, and you boys are going to all grow up to be doctors, dentists, solicitors, and whatever it is, accountants.
Yeah, exactly. But so there's that where so there are schemes to target lads from non-traditional backgrounds. Exactly the sort of people that the RFU are always telling us they want to get into rugby.
So how does that work then?
So we've got one lad who comes and trains with us.
Yeah.
Who he gets funding for taxis.
So I like this
to training and whatever.
I feel that's like
really good.
I feel like it's a necessary expense. But if I was going to push back on that, first thing I'd ask is, why are Broughton Park not paying that? I mean, I would say Broughton Park should at least say we'll part fund it. It shouldn't just be from the RFU because I don't like the dependency culture.
Well, here's another element, and just to broaden it out and to sort of take that and make it broader, because this will be relevant to a lot of people's conversations in their local rugby club. In my mind, and I've just remembered, this was the conversation that sort of perked your interest. And actually, it'd be interesting to hear what Phil's experience was. I would suggest, if I were running a club, if I were a chairman of a club or whatever, I don't know how the committees work, but anyway, I would say my most important team is my first team.
Yes.
And my second most important team is my Colts team.
Okay.
And I would reflect that And there'll be some people going, what about your women's team? Yes, that's important too.
Well, not to men's rugby, it's not.
Not to men's rugby,
Right, no, it has to be absolutely crystal clear, spelled out.
I'm talking about men's rugby.
Yeah. You are. But for everyone else listening who thinks women's rugby is important, it is not important if you play men's rugby. It is very important if you play women's rugby, but they are not the same things. And I'd go one further, right? I think I want to recategorise rugby now. Rugby is men's 15. Women's rugby 15 is women's rugby 15s, but just rugby on its own, that title rugby is men's 15 rugby. So we never have to discuss who's the best player ever again. Rugby is men's 15s. That's it. Women's rugby is a different thing, and it will actually be a different thing if they take on the size 4.5 balls. So to differentiate it, we call it women's rugby, and then there's rugby sevens, right? There is no such thing. The only thing which is rugby is men's 15s, and that's the end of that. So I'm glad that we are all in agreement.
You've done that clarification.
Yeah.
Well, on that basis, the most important team at my club would be the first 15, and I would tailor the club with that direction. But on a par, and not very far behind, and I'm not saying this because I'm, and I can explain my thinking, I'm not saying this because I run a Colts team, but it would be my Colts.
I agree with you for 95% of clubs. It just happens to be the last two clubs that I've played with, I would not agree with you. Because they're city centre transient clubs, and like if you were in Penrith, or maybe if you even in like Sale, because Sale is a little bit more,
Sale don't have a Colts team
in the suburbs. Well,
isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it is actually.
Yeah.
Sale FC don't have a Colts team.
Sale historically, they've not been a big club. It's the shift has been the last 10 years or so.
Yeah, I mean they were below Broughton Park for the majority of my career there, like way below them. I've never played them. Because we went down and they went up at the same time.
Struggled to even get more than two teams out historically.
Really?
Yeah. They're really not
I've never
impressive.
known them as being like a competitive first or second until the last 10 years.
So how would I manifest that thought that my Colts is such an important team? It would be food after training. I've instilled a thing. You understand our clubhouse, so I don't want to be too inside of baseball. But there's a lounge bar behind the bar at our club.
The Lynn Morgan Lounge, is it?
The Lynn Morgan Lounge. And I've said that after every Colts game at home, the Colts have the Lynn Morgan Lounge. So they can go in there, have tunes, have their drinks, whatever they want. Yep. So that's their lounge. So it makes it feel a bit special. Because it's like, well, no, because you're an important team. Yeah. And other teams don't get that treatment. The Colts do.
Yeah.
The Colts play every game on the first team pitch.
Yeah.
Exactly.
As priority.
Have BP... Sorry. On that, I've Broughton Park got a gym in the facility.
Unfortunately not.
Because that is something, creating that gym culture and creating it more than just before training on a whatever night you train, Wednesdays, Thursdays. Creating it across
We've seen that with our friends at Aylesbury.
Would be great.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, who sent us a picture of a rugby club gym recently?
It was
Dave at Bournemouth.
No, it wasn't Dave.
It looked incredible.
Whose gym was it? It looked. Yeah, it was very.
It was legit.
The guy who urinated on your parents. Mark
Walton. So not Hungerford or...
It might have been. It was something like that.
It was a great gym setup anyway.
It was very good. Yeah.
Apologies, we can't actually name the club to compliment.
Never mind, doesn't matter.
Anymore.
But
some club knows they've
There's
got
a club out there
gym.
who probably get loads of players who've mentioned their gym, and they've got an amazing gym, but we can't be bothered. Sorry, boys.
So did you... I'm curious to know, what was your experience of Sedgley Park and... because obviously I ran two Colts teams. They don't now, by the way.
No.
I wonder if that's a broader thing generally, that there are not as many young people playing rugby, and so there aren't as many Colts teams that are able to be... to play.
I suspect that is a thing. Sedgley, the years that I was there was kind of a 4-year period of all having good competitive, or maybe even 5-year period. It was like 2 above me, 2 below me, who all had good competitive leagues. We're all competing in Lancashire Cups. We're all players getting representative.
And being invited to go and train with the first team and stuff like that, I imagine.
Yeah.
Which I remember when I was a Colt at Newbury, it was
big deal, isn't it?
It was like I was 16, and they were like, "Come train with the ones."
Well, essentially, it was even getting invited to train with the second team when you were a Colt was a big thing. Otherwise, you'd be making numbers up because I don't think Sedgley. They might even. Yeah, I think they still do run 4 teams, but they've all for a long time have run 4 teams. But how they got there, I think it was probably more luck and timing than anything in that period, because it didn't continue for that much longer afterwards. And for essentially, it is important to have good Colts team. I'd probably say the second most important team in Sedge is the second team, for obvious reasons, because they need to carry more than if they're a 21 or 22 man squad.
Yeah,
you've got to you can't at that level. You can't just have 22 men. You need to have at least 30 boys who are capable of playing that stand, and actually probably close to 35.
And I don't actually know how this works now, because your Colts, say if they go to Broughton Park first team training, I mean, that's not really first team training, is it? It is men's training in one group, and everyone goes. The first team are present, but you go to training. Like, that's how I did it for a decade or so. If you went to Stockport training, for example, I've had lads come to us in Didsbury from Stockport because all they do is run with the first 15. So if your lads are invited to that first 15, that's legit. Like, you're actually being thought of to play at that standard. If you go to a Broughton Park open session, well, it's just an open. I mean, it's fun. It's great. You'll get good coaching because there's good coaches there, but it's not the same as being invited to Stockport or Sedgley or something like that. I don't know if it's better or worse, but it's definitely different.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some clubs essentially generally would do training together, ones and twos, and then split off for skill stuff and team runs and that kind of thing. So you generally do stuff together, but not always. So getting steps up to the first team was always pretty big. Even for training.
But what's interesting is, so the situation is there was no age group above our under 17, so there was no Colts team at Broughton Park last year.
Yeah.
So there was no senior Colts that they could join. So we're on our own in this island going, we've got to sustain this team. And everyone said to me last year, that I asked who'd been running Colts teams, you need to have minimum 25, more likely 28 lads to sustain a season, otherwise you won't make it.
Yeah.
And we knew we were losing one to the military, one guy because of school stuff, some guys because of rugby league, and then these contracts have happened. Anyway, so we knew we were losing guys, so we did the calculations and went, I think we got 20.
Oof. Right on the edge, isn't it?
So no, it's not even on the edge. Everyone I spoke to said you won't be able to run a team with 20, and so it's proved we are struggling. but what I've basically, because there hasn't been a Colts team for a while at Broughton Park, I've basically come to the conclusion, if we can't sustain a Colts team, there's no one at Broughton Park that will ever be able to sustain a Colts team with one age group. So if we fold, then I don't think Broughton Park will have a Colts team for the next 10 years.
Pay attention to what people do rather than what they say. And I think I'm quite honest in this respect, which is if someone came to me with this problem and I was in charge of Broughton Park or Didsbury, I would say something like...
Didsbury don't really have a junior section, do they?
Minis, yeah, but not junior.
No, it's odd.
What I was going to say on that is... I'd be honest, it's just not the style of club it is. We've got this massive transient population, and actually, what do we serve up here? We serve up rugby for people who are going to be here for 2 or 3 years, and that's why we have, 300 people at our dinner and these massive events, because it's a very broad club, but very deep club. If you're in Penrith or somewhere, it's a very deep club. So you start when you're a mini and junior, you go all the way up, and you look at so many teams that we play. It's like Widnes; they've all come from Widnes. From Widnes youth team, and so that is. If I had your situation though, I'd probably make the exception because, well, it is exceptional. I don't know of any. I don't think Burnage do it. I don't think that Bedians will be able to do it. I don't think anyone will. I just don't think that's how city centre clubs operate. So the fact that you've even got one is amazing. So because you've got that core, and I think I'd do a couple of things. I would start running adverts. I think, or shout outs on. Silly little things like community WhatsApp groups, Chorlton Facebook page. There must be 3 or 4 kids out there who really want to play rugby. And what do you need? 5 of them. If you got 5, that'd make a real difference.
You mentioned as well that this is off air, that there's been mergers with local teams like Bedians or Tockade.
The year below's merged with another club. 2 years below's merged with a different club. Yeah. The year above merged with a club, but that didn't work because they ended up just losing all the Broughton Park players to
the
Sedgley.
The 7 of them ended up going to Sedgley Park.
Good club.
So yeah, no junior. As far as I'm aware, in the junior section, which is what do you class juniors as, like under 14s and up,
think
or whatever,
so, yeah.
something like that. In the junior section, there is no Broughton Park team, which is just Broughton Park. Ours is the only one that there has been for quite some time.
Yeah, because minis and juniors are very parent focused, isn't it? And parents disappear and no one really wants to play it, and they go to school and they don't play it, and that's it.
The inner city thing I'd never really considered. Anyway, well, we're trying to keep it going.
I would. So back to that star scheme. I think that's quite interesting. So I quite like where that's going. I would argue that Broughton Park should foot some of the bill for it, and that should be their thing. They should be proud to say we've got 5 players from non-traditional rugby backgrounds playing, and they should, if the player is worth it, fund it. In fact, when we're talking about if they're worth it,
not even worth it.
If they show up,
if they're interested,
if they show up, right?
Yeah.
Now, I'd also say, what an opportunity for local business. So if you want to do something worthwhile, why not Broughton Park? Just ask Chorlton is one of the most hand-wringing, lefty, liberal, community mind. They love for saying the word community without actually meaning it. But if they do mean it, put some money towards, I know a company that would probably do that actually, funding lads from non-traditional backgrounds to come to training. And that's it. And I know you do it on a subscription. And, hey, if you've got a company in the Manchester area and you want to send Tim some money for Broughton Park star scheme to get kids that couldn't get training
to go and get kids in Wythenshawe or Gorton or whatever places like that,
to steal lads from other people's youth teams to come to Broughton Park.
Definitely not that.
No, but I think that's a worthwhile thing. If I had a business in Chorlton, I'd definitely consider that. Definitely consider that.
I'd just genuinely be curious to know if there's anyone in similar situations, because I imagine there's probably elements of the conversation we've had in various ways that ring true or not. And I think your point about city versus sort of towns and communities and stuff. My thought for the Colts team being so important is, one, it's a feeder to your first team. And there's a sense of identity there. I think clubs take massive pride in lads that are in their first team that came from their club. I'm sure,
definitely.
I'm sure Sedgley Park were massively proud of you, Phil, being a mini from age 8 or 6 or whatever it was.
Yeah,
you see it on all the programmes. They have little asterisks on the match programme or on their social media, lads that are produced from minis and juniors. And we at Talk H have precisely 0. Like 0. And if you did have it, it'd be embarrassing because there might be 1. But I don't even think there's 1. Maybe we should put like 5. Even if we put 5 years of service, we'd have 2.
So, well, here's the thing: can you achieve both things? Because I agree with what you're saying. Didsbury do a really good job at serving the people, but with that identity, and they do that thing really well. Could you not do that and try and cultivate? Would it not have knock-on benefits for the club, for everyone? Whether that's just in terms of coffee sold or bobble hats sold or whatever, would it not be advantageous to the club to do what you do and have a thriving mini and junior section?
Well, it'd obviously be silly for me to say no, it wouldn't be. I think the answer is slightly different, which is you don't need it. And because you don't need it, you don't think about it because everyone's sort of fat and happy, if that makes sense. So if the club is running and you've got 3 teams or 4 teams every week and you've got a thriving clubhouse, and next day the ladies are playing because we've got a good ladies section, and then the minis and juniors are playing. And so what do we offer? We offer a really great place for minis and juniors for the middle-class parents of Didsbury before they finally flee to the suburbs, and also transient young professionals. And that's what we do. Now, it would definitely be advantageous to have a youth team, but it just isn't how it works. I mean, where are you going to draw them from? Like Didsbury Pars would. I mean, I've played with 2... maybe 3 lads in my entire life that have come from there. If that. But maybe that's who you need to be talking to. In fact, I know a guy who is a sports teacher at Didsbury Parswood, and he's a really good bloke and a referee, and was trying to get lads into rugby and plays at Talk H. And that might be a guy that you need to speak to.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
Interesting. Yeah, I'd be interested to know if anyone's in similar situations. It might spark a thought. So contact eggchasers@gmail.com. I think we've done that one. And there you go. Anyone looking at the podcast when they came to the feed would go, yeah, that seems like a normal amount of time.
2 hours?
Hour and 45 minutes.
Right. Do you want to hear my final thoughts on culture?
Yeah,
because I think I can close the door on culture forever now.
Go on then.
So culture. A really good friend of mine who, her daughter goes to my kid's school, was telling me on Friday that she went to a meeting with Trafford Council about culture. And maybe me, I was like rolling my eyes, like, oh my God, can you imagine anything worse? Trafford have a head of culture. So my immediate one is, if you have to talk about culture, you don't have it, right? And I've said this time and time again. If you talk about it, it just doesn't exist. But then, I was reminded of a conversation I had with an old director of rugby of mine, who is now director of rugby at Kenilworth, would you believe it? And he's like, oh yeah, but you're massive on culture because you do loads of cultural stuff. I was like, no. We don't do culture here. We just don't do it. So therefore, it must be something, right? But if you can't talk about it, what is it? So I've now come up with cultural rules, which are the only things you can talk about. It can't be culture, but it can be quantitative things which you can measure with an outcome. Does this make sense?
It does.
So if we say we show up on time, that is something that we can measure, right? And it has an outcome. If we say that we all go to the gym at a certain time, or we have a set of standards which are measurable, then it means something. So for instance, if I say in a workplace scenario, we always answer the phone in 5 seconds, that is a thing. Whereas if I say we have a customer service culture, well, that's meaningless because that's just a word. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
it's like saying a discipline culture, no, but we're going to be below 5 penalties, and we're always going to be an extra yard on side. Yeah. Things like that, they are specific, they're measurable, they're smart targets.
And if you do it without saying it, the more innate it becomes, the more cultural it is. So we know lots of people in the NHS, and I was asking about NHS culture. So yeah, we have a culture of openness. We always talk about our culture of openness, which, well, show me the tangible outcome of your culture. You've got to tell me what it is. And then the other reason you can't talk about culture, and this is the bit which I completely missed. So imagine that I talk to all my forwards every Tuesday when they show up. I ask them how their day's been, what they've been up to, just show a bit of interest in them, and then just talk about their game, or tell them about the feedback I've heard from them in the second team, or whatever it is. Just show some interest. That probably creates a culture of support. But if I was to tell them, oh, we've got a culture of support, and then I go around, how was your day, Mike? Feeling great? Now I don't have a culture of support, and I've got a culture of being disingenuous.
Disingenuous.
Exactly what it is. So as soon as you say it, it is ruined. So when Sanderson, for instance, is Pat Lam, we've got a culture of love here.
Love.
No, you've got a culture of lying. Because as soon as you've said we've got a culture of love, you're a liar. Right? If you show up, if we all show up to rugby at the same time, because we've got a culture of hard work, and therefore we show up to work hard, we don't have a culture of hard work. We've got a culture of authoritarianism. If we show up on time because we want to, it's innate. Then you've got a culture of hard work. It's for other people to decipher, not for you.
I like that.
So that is my So every time you hear someone say, "Oh, our rugby's got a great culture," they're probably a liar. Yeah, if you've got culture, you don't need to mention it.
Be specific. What do you mean?
Yeah.
So you should change the word to. I'm just thinking, if you a culture is a byproduct of standards.
Yes.
That's a better way of framing it.
We've got a great.
You focus on the standards, not the culture.
Then the culture will
create itself.
It will manifest.
Yeah. Exactly. Whereas if you say, "Oh, high performance culture," beg your pardon. A culture of love and brotherhood. Sorry now? What? Yeah. I mean, by the way, that's the most stupid one, right? So, we've got a culture of brotherhood. I hear that all the time. Like, what are the standards that lead to that? You've got the same parents. Like, how do you produce that culture?
I agree with you. I like it.
I like that as well. And I'm just thinking about the things that I've set up with like the university team. I'll be seeing them tomorrow night. And I haven't said a lot of things, but it was things like, I got them to do it, and our training's at 5:30 tomorrow night, and that means training begins at 5:30.
Yes, you show up warm, you show up strapped. So my big thing on match day is, hey, we set a time together, but you make that time, and we go out at that time prepared and ready to drill for the game.
And when I turned up, we had some pre-season training, and they set the standard on day one, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to hold you to that, but I left my car at the university one day because I went off somewhere else and caught a cab into town. Anyway, but that's irrelevant. I forgot that I had left my car there. And
Hammered.
and about half an hour before the next day, I went out to get in the car. I went, oh, it's at the uni, and I got out in plenty of time, but I went, shit, and I just started running, and I ran 2.5 miles to Platt Lane, and the lads saw me arrive, run through the door with like 2 minutes to spare, and we had the huddle, and I just went, I just want to say thank you, because the fact that you're all here and you've shown the standards, I got myself in this situation and I couldn't not
be there.
Yeah.
That is exactly it. That was the culture. That is exactly.
So they set a culture which meant that I ran 2.5 miles to make sure I could not be. And I was thinking, I cannot be a second late because
you can't.
And that's culture. You're right.
So Disbury have just started a thing now, which I've never seen before, but I love it. Every time we win, we do extra fitness. So we've got winners fitness as soon as we arrive. It's 10 minutes. It's only 10 minutes.
I like that.
But winners fitness.
I like that.
So you've earned your fitness.
That's good culture.
It's great. That is great. It dawned on me because I didn't go out last night because I was so broken from playing. It's like, what is this culture thing? Finally, I've nailed it.
That's really good.
And I'm going to write a book on it and make millions. And give do you know what? I've ruined it. If not, I could have made bullshit seminars and books for years on that.
Yeah.
Someone will have been past this or will listen to the last 10 minutes of this podcast and they'll make a load of cash by just regurgitating it because it's so bang on. So bang on.
There you go.
If you say it doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly right. So, but this is a great game now to look out for with rugby coaches because they're so attuned to say this, and football coaches, all that coaching fraternity who believe in this softly, nicey culture stuff. They're all bullshitting you. They've got mostly a culture of grifters and liars.
Like it. Right on that. Let the boys end.
The boys end.
At Leidos, a brilliant mind is smart, but a brilliant team is smarter. A ship that finds enemy subs is smart, but an autonomous fleet, that's smarter. Defending against cyber attacks? Smart. Stopping attacks before they start? Smarter. And using AI tools is smart, but integrating trusted mission AI into your technology is smarter. We're not just making technology solutions in national security and health. We're making smart smarter. Leidos.